Welcome to Watson Stadium, moments away from today's kickoff between the Ducks and the Huskies. They've already announced the attendance today, 46,226. That's the largest that we've seen in quite some time, the second biggest ever here at Autzen. The Huskies lead the all-time series. Oregon winning last year, scoring all 24 of its points in the first half. Jim Lambright in his fourth campaign as the headmaster of the Huskies' 28th season. His association with the University of Washington football. And his counterpart is Mike Bellotti in his second year, head coach for Oregon. Ready to go, Oregon to kick off. This is Matt Brewer. A spiral punt that's headed into the direction of Jerome Pathon. Headed to the near side, a bit of a seam at the 25 and down at the 29-yard line. So Pathon getting his first opportunity today, a speed burner. And the Huskies bring the offense onto the field, directed by Brock Huard, the redshirt freshman from Puyallup. A left-hander, 6'5", suffered a concussion against Notre Dame, but came back last week very effective in the victory over UCLA. Big, strong, physical offensive line. Huard completing 48% of his passes this year. First down, they give it to the big back. That's Corey Dillon. With a great power and surge over the 35 to the 37-yard line. Holding on for dear life, Chris Young and Ryan Clausen for the Ducks. Skilled position players for Washington. Dillon, Keaho, good blocking fullback. Janoski, Pathon, and Cam Cleveland, a big tight end. And up front, you see that offensive line. Bob Sapp, not in there today, missed last week's game. Don't anticipate him playing again today as well. Second down and 1 for the Huskies at their own 37. Huard, rollout pass, and he throws it behind Cameron Cleveland. He was guarded by Derek Barnes. So a little bit of a roll of the dice by the Huskies on second down and short. So it'll be third and 1 defensively for Oregon. Up front, they are as healthy as they have been since the second week of training camp. Bird, Jackson, and Mark Schmidt. Linebacking core, Jordan tied for third in the league in tackles for Lawson. And in the secondary, very young, Kenny Wheaton, as you noticed, not starting today, strained quad muscle earlier in the week. Do not know how much he will be able to play today. Third and short, they give it to that power back, that's Dillon, and he has the first down over the 40 to the 42. Chris Vanderveer, sophomore linebacker from Lebanon, Oregon, made the tackle. Initial first down of the ball game. The Huskies doing what they do so well, that is run the ball. They lead the conference in rushing touchdowns with 16. So it'll be first and 10 for the Huskies at their own 42. Colvin and Janoski split near side. Pathon, the lone receiver, to the top of the screen. Dillon is the lone back. 2-3-step drop. Quick pass out to Pathon. Breaks one tackle with Kip East, but manages to pick up only about 4 yards before he's knocked down by Vanderveer and Clausen.
Something they did last week, Todd, is have Brock Huard come out, throw those nice, safe passes, gain some confidence. You saw the first one he threw was low and behind Cam Cleveland. That one's a nice spot pass. Brock Huard, just a 2-step drop, getting out there in a hurry. Builds a lot of confidence that way.
Indeed it does. Cam Kissel now in the lineup for the Huskies at tight end, number 11. Second and 6. Dillon gets to the line of scrimmage, and that is it. They went with a counter play. Bryant Jackson, the nose tackle, number 91, made the stop for Oregon. It'll be third and 6.
Todd, you mentioned that Oregon defensive front is as healthy as they've been all year, and I will say it appears they like playing up on the line of scrimmage as opposed to how they started the season, the guys off the ball.
Well, this game for Oregon is kind of a game on an island. They had a bye last week. They have a bye next week. So indeed, it, in some respects, is a season into itself. Third and 4 in the crowd. They've handed out about 38,000 pom-poms here. Quick pass, like a little screen to the wide receiver. Pathon, and Lamont Woods comes up from the corner position to make the tackle. That's a loss of 1, and the Huskies will be forced to punt.
That's a scary pass, I'm telling you. I know he's big and strong, but throwing it that far across the field to the outside receiver takes a lot of time, and Lamont Woods was able to react.
And Todd, Sonny doesn't like those cross-field passes.
No, I do not.
So the Huskies to punt as Woods makes the tackle for Oregon. Amid Sarshir, this has kind of been a real experience for the Huskies this year, punting the ball. They've had 3 different guys punt. Sarshar gets the call today. And this is not a good one. Takes a Oregon roll and will be down at the 32-yard line. So a poor punt by the Huskies, and Oregon with decent field position at the 32.
That has been the story all year, Todd. It's just been a really up and down roller coaster ride with our punting game. That time, he didn't get the good hop, Ken, that he normally has gotten to get some positive yardage out of it.
You bet. I think the Ducks would love to have this come into a punting duel. They're averaging about 11 yards more per pop than the Huskies.
Tony Graziani, the starting quarterback for Oregon, missed 4.5 games with a knee injury, returned 2 weeks ago against Stanford. Nice touchdown to interception ratio, but that interception was against Stanford in the end zone. Patrick Johnson, the speed burner, in motion as Oregon comes out to a 3 wide receiver look. Graziani to throw on first down, and he's hit behind the line of scrimmage. That is a sack. The Huskies with their 26th sack of the season, and you would guess it would be Jason Shorak. He has had a phenomenal year, Sonny.
Yes, he has. That's one thing that you have to do against the Oregon Ducks today is get to the quarterback, and that's a great example right there of what Jason's been doing all year. Right here, you see, I believe it was Harvey Wynn, Eric Wynn. His dad or uncle played here, wasn't it?
Uncle Harvey.
He'll thank me for that comment, won't he, Ken?
Well, for Chorak, that is his 11th sack. That leads the Pac-10, and he's got an excellent chance to break the Husky records for sacks in a season and a career. Loss of 8, 2nd and 18. And give it to Kevin Parker, who one would assume would be a marked man today, and John Fiala. We're not sure if John would start today. Missed last week's game with UCLA, but it's Fiala making the tackle, Kevin Parker the carry. You see offensively for the Ducks, Parker getting the start at tailback, Wynn, Griffin, Hodge, Wilcox the tight end, and up front, 4 seniors, 1 junior. David Weber, the lone junior in that quintet. 3rd and 17. Graziani under some pressure. And he is ripped down, making the tackle is Lester Towns, number 17, right at the line of scrimmage.
Great example of the athletic ability of Lester Towns. Redshirt freshman, 6'3", 240 pounds. And if we get a chance to look at it, he really does turn around the opposite direction and grab the quarterback. Now Graziani's with that bum knee also, Woody, right?
Well, actually, he looked pretty good at Stanford. His only concession he had to his injury is that he did the slide a couple times, but his quickness is still there, and that's just a terrific defensive play.
Josh Bidwell to boot it away for the Ducks. Jerome Pathon, the safety. It looks like a kick in Australian rules football, doesn't it? Pathon takes that low kick and weaves his way up near midfield to the 48-yard line. That is the first time I can remember this year, Ken, where the Ducks have had a bad snap on a punt, and the Huskies have great field possession, 1st and 10 at their own 49. Washington with their 2nd possession of the game, 1st and 10 at the Washington 49-yard line after the exchange of punts. Huskies with 2 tight ends, Kissel and Cleland. The lone back is Corey Dillon. Dillon trying to cut back, and he does across the green. Gain of about 4. Reggie Jordan on the tackle for Oregon, number 47, along with Chris Vanderveer, the inside linebacker.
Well, Todd, on that exchange of punts, the Huskies gained 20 yards. Started initially on their 29. This is a battle the Ducks can ill afford to lose.
No surprise in the Husky game plan so far. Run the football with Dillon. Try to establish that line of scrimmage with an offensive line that averages 6'5", 300 pounds. Double tight end alignment. Play action pass. Heward over the middle. He's got Cleland. Cleland on Chris Young, and Cleland with a Husky first down to the 15-yard line. That's what that running game will do for you. Sets up play action pass. And it was Cleland, the big tight end down the middle, with his 11th reception of the year.
Watch the linebackers on that play right there. A little bit late, dropping back in coverage, Woody. That's what that running attack will do. It gets you up close to that defensive line of scrimmage.
You bet, and the Ducks have really struggled in the running game. They're going to have to commit their linebackers to trying to help in the run. The secondary's got to cover that on their own.
1st and 10 at the 15. Counter play to Dillon to the outside. In pursuit, 2 Oregon defenders as tight-roping his way down the sideline is Dillon. He got away from Chris Young, and he has a first down at the 5-yard line. 1st and goal for the Huskies.
I'll tell you, Todd, whether you're a Duck fan or a Husky fan, if you're a fan of football, you're going to love the running of Corey Dillon. Right here, you see him breaking to the outside. Little stiff arm right there, turning it on tightrope down there. Woody, I tell you, he is really the full deal.
You got to like any guy who uses a stiff arm. That's old-time football.
First and goal for the Huskies. Jeremy Brigham now in as a tight end along with Cleland. Coleman in the slot. Back to Dillon. He had 5 touchdowns rushing a week ago against UCLA. Gets a yard inside the 5 to the 4. 8:10 remaining in the first quarter. Neither team has scored so far, but the Huskies knocking on the doorstep.
Really good look right there. Jeremy Brigham coming in, getting a lot of playing time this season, 84. Big, tall boy taking on 2 Ducks.
See Desmond Bird, number 99. He's played pretty good the last couple weeks.
He's a load, 300 pounds.
Dillon to the outside. Dillon tackled at the 1 by Chris Young. And Garth White, number 55, now in there at an inside linebacking position. You look at Young, 5'11", 194, a redshirt freshman from Garden Grove, California. This year, the Ducks very inexperienced in that secondary. And you look at the 2 safety spots, and the Ducks have yet to start an upperclassman at either the strong or the free safety. It's been a freshman or a redshirt freshman in every game. 3rd and goal from the 1. Dillon right side into the end zone for the score. Corey Dillon leads the Pac-10 in scoring, and he tacks on the first 6 of the ball game.
Woody, Todd, I tell you, we talked about George Kieho in the pregame. He's a little spark plug, 225 pounds, 230, leading Corey Dillon. You'll get a good look right here, 25, leading Corey Dillon, number 4, right through the hole.
There's a great job by the guard and the tackle there on the double team. Just really sealing off Oregon's defensive lineman inside.
John Wales for the point after. It is up and good. So the Huskies, with their 2nd offensive possession of the ball game, march 51 yards for the score. Huskies 7, Oregon nothing. Scoring drive did not take long. Nice balance, but mostly on the legs of Corey Dillon.
Well, there was also that nice pass to Cam Cleland right down the middle of the zone there.
Todd, you know, you talk about the early advantage. Against Oregon's offense, it doesn't mean a lot, but for the psychological safety of the defense, that's a big drive they just gave up.
Wales very high and short. Fair catch called for by Jed Weaver at the 21.
I'll tell you, you'll see that a lot.
Yeah.
And that's just as effective as kicking it out of the end zone. The ball comes to the 20.
Well, I don't think they wanted to kick it to Patrick Johnson.
You can say that again. Keep it away from 83.
Well, they need to move him up in the wedge then. Well, you know, actually, if Patrick Johnson had caught that ball, he could have got about another 10 yards.
He wouldn't have fair caught it, huh?
No, he doesn't like to fair catch them. Of course, last year he returned the opening kickoff for a touchdown against Washington and had a kickoff return for a touchdown against Stanford 2 weeks ago. So Oregon 3 and out the first time around. Graziani to throw it. Throws it out on the flat for Saladin McCullough. Probably a good thing he didn't catch it because Lester Towns was all over him.
And very nearly a lateral, too.
Yes, it was. Lester Towns will get out there in coverage. Very talented young man. He's really gained a lot of experience the last few weeks with Fiala out of the lineup, but there is out on his man. I think Saladin actually saw him coming a little bit.
A couple of guys from Pasadena, California, knocking heads right there.
Well, Lester may have had garlic for pregame, and he might have smelled his breath coming there, too.
Second and
Breathing
10
right down your neck.
for Oregon at their own 21-yard line. Washington crowding the line of scrimmage. They're going to give it to Saladin McCullough, but a whistle before the play started.
Number 82, Spence, was moving in his stance.
Big look at Lester.
No play, dead ball, false start, offense, 5 yards, repeat second down.
Jim Springer, today's referee.
Sonny, the first game of the year down in Fresno, they were giving the names and numbers of the offending parties. But I guess it's your choice whether you do that or not.
Yeah, and I haven't seen too much of that with the Husky games.
2nd and 15. There's the screen pass out to Patrick Johnson. Johnson up the sidelines before he's knocked out by Nigel Burton, who played here last year at Autzen Stadium against the Ducks while suiting up for Pacific.
And I think he likes this uniform a little better than the Pacific one. Burton did a great job there of taking an angle on Patrick Johnson. And you're going to see him. He's on the inside, forcing Patrick Johnson out into the sidelines. They say the sidelines are your friend if you're a defender. That was an excellent job by Burton.
Tell you, Nigel has played both corner and rover. Very valuable to the Husky defense.
3rd and 3 from the Oregon 27. Graziani on a half roll. Decides to keep it, cuts up in, has a seam. And he's not taking the slide this week. He put his head down and put a licking on somebody in that secondary. He has the initial first down of the ball game for Oregon. Nigel Burton made the tackle for Washington.
Big 3rd down conversion for Graziani and the Ducks. The Ducks only averaging 32%. You know, for as effective as the offense has been, their 3rd down efficiency rate is relatively low. You see here, that he's going to take one for the team, just like you, Sonny, back in the old days.
Absolutely, except if I saw somebody like Nigel Burton coming at me, I think I would have done the old slide technique.
Oregon with the ball at their own 45. Going upstairs, looking deep for Patrick Johnson. He's got to step on his man. That's interference. But I'll tell you what, that's a good interference penalty for Mel Miller. If he doesn't make that play, it's a touchdown.
Yep, he will not be criticized in the film session on Sunday for this play. Excellent protection up front. You see Malapai is not even tested. That ball was thrown perfectly. Pretty good job by the defensive back of catching up to the ball.
Yes, he did. It looked like a little face mask as well. Mel Miller coming a little high with his hands. One thing, you look at the Oregon offense, Woody, they have a lot of people that have caught a lot of long balls.
At one point, they had 6 guys averaging 16 yards or more per reception. That provides a lot of challenges for the secondary. Well, the Ducks have thrown, they've had 3 first down opportunities. They've thrown the ball every single time.
First time in Washington territory at the 40. 6:16 to go in the first quarter. Kevin Parker now splits out to a wide receiver position. They give it to the fullback, A.J. Jelks, and he gets to the line of scrimmage, maybe a half yard. Jason Shorak once again. You know, his play has always been, Sonny, as though he's going at 78 RPMs. But this year, he's going at 78 RPMs, but yet under control.
Yeah, sometimes Jason will take him over pursue and overrun the play. He's really been focused this year. A few times this season, he has missed sacks, though, because of that. A key one against ASU, for example, in the opener.
Well, he's got to be tough. Look at that black stuff under his eyes. Now, that's that fog glare stuff that you wear down here in the Willamette Valley.
2nd and 10, long count by Graziani. Deep down the middle for the tight end, Wilcox, and this ball is almost intercepted by Mel Miller. That was up for grabs as Ink Aliaga and Josh Wilcox battled for the ball, and Miller almost came away with it.
Very similar play to the Huskies' long completion. The difference there is you're going to see a cornerback to the left of your screen come in and help out the safety, or the linebacker there who was beaten. That's Miller. 3 picks this year. He's a pretty good player.
Mel Miller, right there, redshirt freshman, he has really risen to the occasion, Woody. Jermaine Smith, who is not starting today, the other corner also is a redshirt freshman.
The Ducks 1 for 2 in 3rd down conversions today.
3rd and 10. Graziani trying to roll away from the pressure. Throws it underneath to Jabri Hodge. He gets away from a tackler and has a first down for Oregon. at the 25-yard line.
Well, there's some fancy footwork there. The initial catch, he was short of the first down. He broke the tackle, almost broke it all the way. Good job of Graziani of staying alive. Sonny, he does a great job. You know, when you get him under pressure, he sees the field real well.
Well, they do that with that little half roll they like to do. Get him outside where he's got good vision. Damon Griffin, there's a dangerous receiver.
We talked about him before the games. 18 yards per reception. There's a big first down conversion there.
You don't see Jerry Jensen missing tackles very often.
Oregon with two tight ends, Spence and Wilcox. They go unbalanced line in essence. They give it to Saladin McCullough. He goes nowhere, nailed behind the line of scrimmage by Ritchie. David Ritchie, one of the few seniors in this Washington starting lineup. 6'4", 275 senior out of Kelso.
Huskies only have 5, Todd.
Yep. Yeah,
Also, I was going to say, on this play also, you had Kyle Roberts coming on a rover blitz, which you need to do against a guy like Graziani. You got to give him some pressure, come at him from different angles. Then you got 46 Jason Chorak kind of mopping up in the underneath territory.
Loss of 3, 2nd and 13. Griffin, the motion man. Looked like movement early by Oregon. The ball is deflected at the line of scrimmage. Incomplete. It'll be 3rd and 13. 4 minutes, 18 seconds to go in the first quarter. Washington leading Oregon 7-0. Huskies on their second offensive possession went 51 yards, capped by a 1-yard run by Corey Dillon.
Well, the one thing this year, the Huskies have given up 40% of third down conversions against them. That's a little bit high considering how effective their defense has been overall.
Look at Ink Aliaga trying to be first-team All-Pac-10 in consecutive years. Option play on 3rd and 13. Graziani on the keep, a little bit of a seam inside the 20. It'll be about 4 yards shy of the first down. Aliaga in there on the tackle for Washington along with Kyle Roberts. Interesting call on 3rd and 13.
Well, you want to get the Huskies in a blitz and man coverage, and you got a chance to do something out there. I really like that play, and you get the big Samoan Redwood out there in front of you. That's like having a big bodyguard.
Malapai, they say he's 6'3", but I don't buy that. But I do buy the 340 pounds.
He's first in line at training table.
Late substitution for Oregon here. They got plenty of time on the play clock, though, as Parker comes in late. Josh Smith to attempt a field goal. Snap that goes right through Ryan Perry-Smith. This is a live ball, and Tony Parrish, he might lateral it, and that was a bad move for Washington.
His knee was down.
Oh, his knee was down. This will be an interesting one to look at the replay. They'll say that the Oregon kicker was down. Boy, for a minute there, I thought I was looking at Garo Yepremian.
As you can see, that Perry Smith is one of the best holders around. Had not told the center he was ready for the ball. The ball was snapped anyway. Center may have been distracted by that runner coming across his vision.
That's what I think. I think that Perry Smith was too. What he making sure that he was
set. It was
set.
a backward pass. The defense cannot advance a backward pass. Once he recovered it, the ball was dead. First down, Washington.
Well, they're saying that Josh Smith actually tried to pass it instead of actually a fumble.
Well, I'm sure the Ducks would prefer an incomplete pass there, Todd.
Yeah, if he'd have thrown it forward, they'd have brought the ball all the way back to the Oregon or the Washington 20-yard line. So first down. Fake the reverse. All alone is Dillon out of the backfield. Gets a good block from Jerome Pathon. Dillon on the cutback. Dillon still on his feet inside the 10 to the 7-yard line. Boy, for a guy that weighs 225 pounds, showing some niftiness today.
He's been able to do that all year. In fact, Rashawn Sheehy, who's not playing today, both tailbacks for the Huskies can run, but they also can catch the ball out of the backfield extremely well.
Well, that's my idea of a tailback. Guy that big and that strong. He sure looked nifty in the open field. Made the Ducks look really bad inside the 20. You're going to see a couple pretty good running here, but there's a great block. There's a missed tackle, another missed tackle, another missed tackle. Finally, they got him hemmed in.
First and goal, Washington at the Oregon 7. Dillon weaving his way, breaks one tackle, breaks 2, 3, touchdown Washington. Corey Dillon with his second touchdown today, his 7th touchdown in the last 2 weeks.
Well, you can see why he's number 3 in all-purpose running, boys. That is a great example right here. Obviously, the line is doing their job up front, but Corey Dillon, watch this little spin move right there. That has gained him valuable yardage this season.
Well, and the other thing you're seeing, Sonny, there are a lot of Ducks on their backs being blocked.
So Wales trying to knock through his second point after of the game. Shane Fortney is the holder. 2:55 to go in the first quarter. The Huskies taking advantage of a major breakdown in the Oregon kicking game, capitalized for their second score, and they lead it 14-0. So another short kick by Wales. Let's see who's going to get the fair catch here. This is Blake Spence at the 30.
I'm telling you, I'd move Pat Johnson up in the wedge.
So Oregon with its third offensive possession. The first one was 3 and out. The next one was a nice little drive, and you have to go back. The smart play by Mel Miller on pass interference on a play that could have been a touchdown prevents a score. Oregon then tries a field goal that they botch up, end up throwing the ball around a little bit, and the Huskies take advantage. 2:55 to go in the first quarter. Wilcox is the motion man. He'll give it to Saladin McCullum, a cutback. Oh, and Lester Towns prevented a long run. Boy, this Lester Towns, you talk about, Fiala being a solid player. Fiala leads the league in tackles, but Lester Towns, he is going to be a good one.
Yes, he is. Good job that time. I believe it was David Weber walling it off.
Excellent job by the offensive line. You see Weber, as you mentioned, but there's a difference. They don't break a tackle. Huskies don't miss a tackle. Running backs have got to break a tackle if this offensive running game is going to get going.
Saladin McCullum missed 3 games with a knee injury this year for Oregon. He's going to give it back to Saladin, and he bounces off the attempted tackle by David Ritchie to the outside. Saladin McCullum on the sideline, steps out of bounds at the Washington 40-yard line. Tony Parrish closest in the vicinity for Washington.
Well, we just talked about it, and there you see Saladin. He broke a tackle there at the line of scrimmage. The offensive line doing a nice job of getting the Huskies collapsed down inside. As you see here, missed tackle there, nice spin move.
Well, I think that's attributed. David Ritchie talked to me yesterday. He works on those moves to get by that big redwood you talked about, Malapai, and sometimes you're so focused on getting by him, you forget where you are. And I think the running back was there, surprised him.
Like a screen, no. Graziani just dumps it, and then he's hammered to the turf, and a flag is thrown as well. And Graziani under severe pressure as the Huskies looked like they had a jailbreak.
Well, Jerry Jensen came in totally unblocked.
There's a first down play on a pass, a holding call, and the Huskies will probably take this because you mark off the holding from the spot of the infraction.
Woody, on that incomplete pass, the new rule, I thought you had to have an attempt at receiving the football. Clearly that time the Oregon receiver wasn't even looking back at the quarterback.
Well, you might say that from your point of view, Sonny. I would say clearly the Oregon wide receiver ran the wrong route and threw it right where it should be.
That sounds like a coach.
No, actually, Graziani's a great one.
Repeat first down.
Graziani does a great job of avoiding the sack. His arrival here as starting quarterback for the Ducks, their sack amounts have gone down. Last year they only gave up 10.
14 for the year, and they've only given up 11 this year, despite the fact they're throwing it more. They're giving up 1.5 sacks per game. They've already given up 1 today.
Well, this is the second game in a row, as you see by that the rushers of the opponents haven't done too well.
This ball is thrown behind Tony Hartley. Outstanding defensive play by Kyle Roberts to strip it out of Hartley's hands, but that ball a little bit underthrown.
Good pressure on the quarterback that time.
Well, Graziani got the football off before he got hit, but unfortunately threw a little bit behind Tony. If he throws this out in front of him, it's going to be a completion. You know, the nice job, the defensive back, he is pulling the arms apart of the receiver, not necessarily just going for the ball. Pretty good defensive technique there.
2nd and 26 for Oregon at their own 44. Under 2 minutes to go in the first quarter. 4 wide receiver package for the Ducks. They go with a little trap to Eric Wynn, and Wynn gets about 4 yards to the 48-yard line. Eric Wynn, 5'10", 210-pounder. pretty good blocker, and maybe as much as anybody gets the most out of his talent.
Well, after that play, Paul Wiggins out there, 72, the left tackle for the Ducks, and Lester Towns having a little handshake out there. Lester threw him back about 4 yards. 315 pounds, that's a lot to toss.
So 3rd and 22 for Oregon.
Again, they're in that long 3rd down situation, Woody. 3rd and 22.
Well, and really, they don't have much of a run threat in this situation. It's all up to Graziani.
Corner blitz. The Ducks actually go away from the blitz, and it's picked off by a defensive lineman, Mag Tuiea. What a great play there. That's that old zone blitz that we see a lot of these days that has been used so successfully in the NFL, where you send a defensive back and you drop off a lineman, and that's what they did right there.
Well, look at his hands on this. This ball's a bullet. That's a wide receiver catch right there.
That is great. Mac Tuiea is a big boy too, Todd. He's 6'6", but that way he looked like the open tight end.
Well, the Ducks not only turn over the ball.
See, Tony Graziani can't believe it. He had not seen any of that in film.
That's tough. The quarterback coach, you got to read the tackle now.
Back to Dillon they go to the right side. Reggie Jordan hit him, but sign of a good running back. His yards gained after the initial contact, and Dillon got an extra 2 yards. Give him a total of 3 on the play.
Well, I think the Ducks can look forward to a lot more of this, because this kind of running offense not only features this young man, Corey Dillon, you see his stats there, but it keeps the Oregon offense off the field.
Another injury for the Ducks, it looks like.
I think it's the nose guard, Bryant Jackson. He's been bothered by ankle and foot injuries the entire year. The week off, the bye week, helped him get a little healthier. And this would be a big loss for Oregon. He's an emotional leader, and one of these guys that has a real knack and a nose for knowing what's going on in the middle of that line of scrimmage. Senior from Anaheim, California.
It's hard to replace a player like that that brings a lot of girth to that nose tackle position at 280 pounds.
Let's get another look at that. You can see he's got a little hitch in his get along right now.
See the block in Benji Olsen, 76. Sophomore.
Barnes, or Reggie Jordan, 47, came back on the back of his legs. Tell you what, you got to keep your feet moving when you're in the pit, because if you let them get locked like that, there's all sorts of people falling on you. Those are big bodies coming down on your heels.
Kenny Wheaton now in the game for Oregon at right corner. They're going to give it back to Dillon, just run him to death. And Chris Vanderveer holding on for dear life. Short of the first down by about 1.5 yards.
Husky offense, you love the situations where you're constantly in that 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2. You can do a lot of things instead of 3rd and 9.
Yeah, there's a lot more plays you can choose from when it's 3rd and 1. 3rd and 17, Sonny, there's 2, and one of them is punt.
Well, let's see, draw.
Yeah.
Third and 1 as the clock winds down in the first quarter. Back to Dillon trying to bounce outside. He's got the first down and more. There's Kenny Wheaton coming up to make a nice tackle, but it's a Husky first down on the final play of the first quarter. Well, the first 15 minutes dominated by the purple and white. 2 touchdowns by Corey Dillon, and the Huskies lead after 1, 14-0. Ready for the start of the second quarter. Washington with the football and the lead at the Oregon 39-yard line. This drive started after an interception. Heward, plenty of time. He's got a man, that's Coleman. He falls down at the 18-yard line, all alone in the secondary.
Boy.
Last week, Sonny, and we're seeing it again today. Last week, Washington jumped on UCLA early with a long kickoff return, a fumble, and an interception turned all those into early points. And today, they're doing the same thing.
Well, they're carrying it over. That's what coaches love to see. But I think it's really a tribute to that offensive line opening holes for Corey Dillon. That time, they give Brock Heward enough time to scan the field twice.
Sonny, I think that if I could get 40 seconds to pick out a guy, I could complete one.
Let's get a motion man. Heward falls, fumble, loose ball. Reggie Jordan looks like he has it for Oregon. Reggie Jordan with the fumble recovery. Looked like Heward got caught in traffic, got stepped on by the center, Kreutz.
Kreutz's left foot came back, and then the pulling guard. There was all sorts of crossing problems there.
Yeah, Olin took care of 2 Huskies.
And in Heward's effort to still try to get the ball off to Dillon, the ball came loose, and Jordan with the opportunistic recovery.
But you know, Woody, you got to give credit to the D-line on that one for giving the pressure to Olin.
You bet. You didn't see Jordan jumping up and down there. You know, that defense right now is a little shell-shocked.
So Oregon with possession of the football. They've not had much success throwing the ball, only 1 for 6 and 1 interception. McCullough trying to cut back. Nice move against the grain. He's in the open. Tony Parrish can't tackle him down and finally knocked out of bounds at the 40-yard line by Mel Miller. Well, Saladin McCullough gives Oregon a little bit different dimension than the other running backs. He has a shiftiness and a smooth gait to him.
And you watch him, as any great running back, his shoulders are always parallel to the line of scrimmage. He doesn't get turned sideways. He bounced outside there and showed some pretty good speed coming off that injury.
He goes out of the lineup right now. Kevin Parker will be the tailback with A.J. Jelks the fullback. 1st and 10 for Oregon at their own 42. First down pass. Looking to go deep again. Patrick Johnson trying to run it down just off his fingertips. Tough ball to catch, that one that's thrown over the shoulder.
Well, that's where a quarterback should throw the ball. That's how you're taught. But it was a tough catch. Sometimes those speed burners they kind of get offline a little bit too. He should have maybe been a little bit out towards the sideline.
Well, you'd like to say you're going to come up with this ball. And running the ball well on first down, Graziani's got good protection. That ball is right where it's got to be. The thing is, I'd like that receiver to be wider because it's always easier to adjust towards the ball than to adjust back over your outside shoulder along the sidelines.
2nd and 10. Give it to the fullback, Jelks. He's got a seam. There's 250 pounds into the secondary, and Tony Parrish took him straight on. Parrish at 205. Jelks with his longest run of the season.
Well,
15 yards.
2 runs, one by Jelks, one by McCullough, and we haven't mentioned a Husky linebacker yet.
You bet. And they're being blocked there. But you know, the crowd is back into it. There's something about running the football that gets people excited. Defense likes to see it because they can sit there on the pine and just watch the ball moving west.
Well, it's not very often you get to see a house going downfield.
He's a big guy. Pretty good pass receiver, too.
Ball at the 44. Graziani a little out passing. You just mentioned it. Right on the money there, Ken, is Jelks with the reception. That's a gain of about 6 yards to the Husky 38-yard line before Nigel Burton knocked him out.
Well, that's what you want. You want to be able to mix it up, run or pass on first down. Prior to that 117-yarder, Sonny, the Ducks have been forcing themselves into a throw-only mode. How'd you like it when you were a quarterback? You like to run the ball on first down?
Throw.
Until you got sacked. Then it was run.
2nd and 4. There's Saladin McCullough. He breaks it again, and just tripping him up is John Fiala. At the 32, a first down.
One thing that's happening to the Huskies, they tend to play their front 7 very tight. Guys are getting picked off and walled down by the offensive line. You see those linebackers in there? There's a block by Jelks on the middle linebacker, just enough to give Saladin McCullough a break to the outside.
Against the Huskies, though, Chris Campbell, 35, is only 240. Not a very heavy boy for a D lineman.
No, the Huskies' defensive line is really not as physical as what we're used to seeing. What with Entman long gone.
Action pass. Graziani hit as he throws it, and this ball will be incomplete. And a penalty flag. That might be another interference on Mel Miller, trying to guard the tight end.
Graziani showed a lot of guts hanging in there. He knew he was going to get hit, and he put it up as best he could. Spence did a nice job of staying alive. He almost came back and made the catch.
Pass interference. Defense. Penalty from the previous spot. First down.
It almost appeared as though the ball was not catchable, though, Todd.
Well, you know, maybe it wasn't because of what Mel Miller did.
Watch this hit, though. David Ritchie really.
And Graziani saw it comes.
That's a catchable, yeah. It looks like he had a chance to catch it. So Miller, the second time today, called for pass interference. The young redshirt freshman out of Torrance. 3 interceptions this year already.
Now, 2 years ago, this is where the Ducks running offense got in gear against the Huskies, down inside the 20. Let's see how it does today.
Here's that little drop play to McCullough. Boy, they've used that successfully. McCullough into the secondary, and Tony Parrish might have prevented a touchdown. Gain of 8 to the 9-yard line. You talk about running the ball. We talked all about Corey Dillon. But after that run right there, the Ducks now have almost 70 yards rushing, the Huskies with 47. Interesting.
Go figure.
Yeah, I know.
Go figure is right.
Again, you see it right there. Great blocking by the Oregon offensive lineman.
Well, and a little bit of success, I'm sure, helps your play calling. You pop one for 17, you're much more likely to call it. Frankly, there have been some times the last year and a half the Ducks have not tried to run the football as much as they might have.
2nd and 2 at the 9. McCullough kind of waiting and waiting and waiting. Bounces to the outside, the cutback, and we have a flag thrown at the Oregon 10 and another flag thrown at the 10 as well. We might have 2 separate penalties.
The first one, Todd, is going to be clipping, and I believe it was on Jelks. Either that or he grabbed the back of the heel of a Husky, and that last one, I don't know.
I think the last one was the same call, it looked like. Looks like 2 officials spotted the same infraction.
You watch, well, it's out of your picture. It was into the right, but.
Holding, offense, 10 yards from the spot of the foul. Repeat 2nd down.
Well, the fans love it when they see the bad guys do it, but when the good guys do it, they don't like it so much. But that was obviously, watch the fullback, number 45 here, right there. That's a tackle, folks.
I'll tell you, though, Malapai, absolutely 3 Huskies could not see the ball carrier, Woody. He was out, you know, on the point of attack.
I'll tell you, he's an outstanding player. He's just not had a great year. This offensive line has been battered and bruised.
They call him the Iron 5. It's basically been the same 5 every down. Graziani to throw. Trying to go back against the grain. He can't do it. And he's sacked back at the 31-yard line by David Ritchie.
Jason Chorak, number 46, is the only Husky who figured that was a screen, and he was standing right next to Saladin McCullough. 3 blockers, 1 Husky, 1 receiver, but he stopped it all by covering. He smelled it out right here. He takes off. You can see him running back there to get McCullough. Good pressure.
Good choice by Graziani to eat that thing.
Well, the Ducks had the ball 2nd and less than 2 at the 9. And now they're 3rd and 23 from the 30.
Ducks 2 for 5 on 3rd down conversion so far.
They're at borderline field goal range right now. They need to get some positive yards. Graziani hit as he throws it downfield over the head of Josh Wilcox. And again, that's what pressure will do. You guys have been talking about it. Wilcox had gotten loose, but Graziani had to get rid of it quick.
And I can't say enough for the toughness of Graziani. He stood in there, Sonny. There were 2 guys coming unblocked, and he's going to put it up there knowing he's going to take the hit.
But the pressure forced him to throw it over the opposite shoulder.
That's right, and less than a perfect pass.
Well, here is an interesting scenario now. The Ducks have it 4th and 23, but they do not believe going into the win that Josh Smith could kick a 47-yard field goal. So they've got to go for it. 4th and 23 from the Husky 30.
Ducks used to run that wide receiver screen.
Graziani throwing, waiting, looking for Jabri Hodge. And Parrish made the interception, which is nice for the statistics. It costs the Huskies 10 yards in field position.
Yeah, knock it down.
Well, Parrish with the interception, as the Ducks just had to throw it down near the end zone anyway.
Hey, if I'm a good defensive player, I want that interception.
Sure.
You know, next year when it's contract renewal time, they'll have that interception.
So the Ducks are turned away, and the Huskies still lead 14-0. Corey Dillon breaks 1 tackle of Desmond Bird and gets 4 yards. Well, that certainly changed the decision-making process for Mike Bellotti, even if he was going to consider a long field goal. When your kicker has a bad leg, that's not a very good scenario.
Well, and the other thing, any points at all are good points. I mean, it's too early to be desperate here. I remember a game in 1971. The Huskies were up 20-0 at halftime. This guy next to me played in that game.
Yes, I did.
And the Huskies were every bit as decisive in that first half. Oregon couldn't gain a ground.
2nd and 7. Heward caught by Cam Kissel. He heads upfield, and he's got a first down at the Washington 31-yard line.
Pretty good play for the Huskies right there. Cam Kissel not coming in, catching very many balls, primarily used as an H-back in their scheme. But you also look at the left side of the screen, you have Cam Cleland out there. Presence of mind there, if he'd have broke it in, Cam Cleland would have actually absolutely taken out Chris Young, 16.
And that is Cam Kissel's first reception of the year. Senior from Manhattan Beach. So 1st and 10 for Washington at the 32, they mark it. Back to Dillon. It's been Dillon left, Dillon right, and this time Marshall lucky to get back to the line of scrimmage.
Outstanding job by Vandiver, number 39. Oregon defensive line playing up on the line of scrimmage, bottled everybody up there. They're keeping those off. You watch the offensive linemen here, they're trying to get off the blocks, get these defensive guys and slide off and get the linebacker. They can't. Ducks did a great, best job so far on first down, no yardage.
You don't see too many backers like that, though, Woody, that are only a little over 200 pounds.
No, he's vastly undersized to play that position.
3-step drop, Pathon hit and
early.
a flag. Yep, Kenny Wheaton, the guilty party. Pathon upended at the 39.
Kenny a little anxious, talking his game there. Trying to explain.
Pass interference, defense, ball at the spot of the foul, first down.
Kenny, that's enough.
Well, what he's saying is that ball is too far over his head. He wasn't going to catch it anyway, but I'd say he probably would have caught it, and that was a good play by Wheaton. I mean, you're not going to stand there and watch him catch the football.
Jerome Pathon has made some very big acrobatic catches this season.
Gives the Huskies a nice speed dimension at the wide receiver position. This time it's Mike Reed getting a rare call, 2 yards to the 42-yard line. Reed, a sophomore out of Tacoma.
That Duck defensive front four with Mark Schmidt, number 54, back in there after they've really missed him the last 2 games. They're playing the front very decisively, and the Huskies offensive linemen are not being able to get to the linebackers as easily as they did at the beginning of the football game.
Talking to Oregon defensive coordinator Rich Stubler, he felt first down was really, really important for his team. They had to hold the Huskies to 3 or less on first down. They did in that scenario. Here comes the counter play. Looked like the Oregon defensive lineman knew what was going to happen before the Huskies did. That's a loss of 2.
A little tough when your running back is tiptoeing up there to the line of scrimmage.
Walking on eggshells.
Didn't look good from the get-go.
Well, that you said it, Todd. The Oregon defense really smelled that play out before. They were shifting over to the tight end side there. It was as if they said, hey, in this formation, they're going to run this play here.
Derek Barnes, good to see him back and relatively healthy. He's missed a lot of quality practice time and playing time with an ankle injury. He's a big play man for Oregon. 3rd and 10.
Huskies 3 for 4 third down conversions so far.
Nice move by Fred Coleman. He turned Kip East inside and out. And Coleman with a first down at Washington has it at the Oregon 30-yard line.
Not only a good job by the Husky offensive line, but also Corey Dillon picking up a big block on Brock's backside.
Well, and that big block there is Kenny Wheaton, who is one of the best pass defenders. They committed him to the rush there, and looked like it would have been nice to have him out there in the secondary and coverage that time.
It's George Kieho, actually, number 25, with the big block, and that's the reason he's in the ball game.
Boy, he can block, can't he?
Yes, he can.
He had all kind of big numbers in high school running the football, but his role now is that of a blocker. As the Huskies come to the line of scrimmage with 7.5 minutes to go in the second quarter,
Washington.
Brock Heward calls
Number 1.
and gets a timeout. So the Huskies leading Oregon 14-0. We'll be right back. The Huskies with all 14 points in the first quarter. Oregon has threatened twice, botched up a field goal attempt in the first quarter, and then had the ball at the Husky 9, and a holding penalty and a sack placed them out of field goal range, and the interception in the end zone killed that drive. First and 10, Washington. Back to Dillon, tries that right side, and with a good long, strong leg surge, gets 3 yards. I mean, he didn't have much there, and he still got 3.
Corey Dillon will not give it up easy. I tell you, those legs are always moving. You pointed it out, Todd. You've seen the big thing with his little spin move. You've seen that little surge, but he's 225 pounds. He's very strong.
Well, you watch 56. Peter Cass has his hands on him, and he's just dragging him down the field. That's a young, undersized guy. I tell you, you get down there in the pit, you got to bring the weight with you, or you're going to get pushed around.
Keep in mind, Corey Dillon was the backup tailback to start the season to Rashawn Sheehy, who was the Doak Walker candidate. Heward, little flare pass out to Cam Kissel. He's bumped out of bounds rather rudely by Garth White and Kip East. Short gain.
Big day for Kissel today.
He's having a career day.
Yes.
Well, that ends up being a little bit like a screen pass. The tight end is out there in the flat to get the back out there, and as soon as he catches it, he's got a ready-made blocker there.
Not a bad one either in Cam Cleland.
I think Cleland put a little bit of hit on his own guy there, and can't get much better than those statistics.
3rd and 2. The Huskies need to get to the Oregon 20 for a first down. Dillon, right side, and he's got the first down, and almost had a touchdown. Second effort by Corey Dillon. First down at the Oregon 15-yard line. Dillon now racking up the numbers rather impressively. So
Hey,
far
watch
today, 58 yards rushing.
Benji Olson right there. Derek Allen, 42 for the Ducks. Absolutely drove him into the turf, allowing Corey Dillon to get up through there.
Well, he's a hard running back. He reminds me of he's that back of Greg back in 4 years, 5
Greg
years
Lewis?
ago. Greg Lewis, yeah. Real good power runner and a good pass receiver too.
This guy's bigger than Greg Lewis. This guy's 6'2", 225. Now he goes to the outside, and he's going to fall forward. Give him maybe 2 yards right there.
Well, this affords the Huskies a little bit of a time to beat up on the duck down linemen. And as you know, Woody, right now maybe they were just kind of plodding along, but fourth quarter time, those guys pounding on you for 3 quarters. It really pays the price.
You bet. The Huskies have run the ball 11 times on first down, passing it only twice. And although they only get 2 yards here, as you say, that toll mounts up. That's one of the advantages of running the football. It's kind of like a mutual fund. It's going to bring you prosperity down the road as that investment grows.
2nd and 9, Heward into the end zone. This ball is overthrown, intended for Jerome Payton, and we're going to have a flag thrown.
The side judge is going to have to come over and tell that guy that ball was uncatchable.
Well, he's going to go over and pick up the guy's flag first, so there was definitely some hand-to-hand combat down there.
Well, that ball came down 3-4 yards out of bounds. And if the side judge does not tell the ref there,
And he's not.
Holding,
So you could call
which
it
becomes
holding.
pass interference, defense, while the ball was in the air. Ball is placed at the 2, first down.
Penalty in the end zone results at the ball being placed at the 2.
Big call against that redshirt freshman, Chris Young. Look on the left side of the screen here, Woody. Actually a little bit late.
That ball was
That's
landed just a few yards short of Cresswell.
Well, you've heard the Cresswell. You've heard the term climb the ladder. That would have taken a big ladder.
He needed an elevator.
Now, the Ducks don't need that. Questionable calls going against them down by 2 touchdowns.
Well, especially in Autzen Stadium.
1st and goal at the 2. Think number 4 might get it? He's got it. His 3rd touchdown of the day, Corey Dillon. Well, the difference in today's game is that when Washington has been in scoring territory, they have gotten touchdowns. When Oregon has been in scoring territory, they have come up bone dry.
Power play right there. Again, 25, George Kieho, Corey Dillon, number 4. Touchdown machine so far in the last 2 weeks.
Well, this is the kind of tailback we used to see wearing scarlet and gold down there in Los Angeles.
with that funny little horse mascot?
You're going to watch them next week, aren't you, Sonny?
Yes,
Better
we
be
will.
careful.
Was he recruited by SC at all?
Corey Dillon, he was recruited by a lot of major colleges. He actually set out a year after high school and readjusted himself and went to junior college. I saw him play in high school, Ken, when he was at Franklin.
Well, he is now over 100 yards, 105 yards of all-purpose yardage
Offside.
today.
Defense. Half the distance.
And as we mentioned, he is averaging just under 200 yards of all-purpose yardage per game, third best in the NCAA. So the offsides against Oregon. Wales will now attempt the point after from the 9. And the point after good. So Dillon's third touchdown on the ground today. The Huskies with 21. The Ducks still looking for their first points with 5:25 to go in the second quarter. Kevin Parker. Smart move. Let it roll into the end zone. You pick it up late like that, and sometimes the wedge is long gone. Well, Parker, you would think might have a big giant X on his back today after what happened last year in Seattle. Pictured in the Seattle Times with a towel around his throat.
I was with a group of people last night from the Seattle area who did not forget that.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of them. See the scoring drive for the Huskies, their best sustained drive, certainly longest drive of the day, 80 yards after the interception in the end zone by Parrish. Mike Belotti's troops, they've seen this scenario quite a bit this year. Down big early. Let's see if they stay with a game plan. They've had success running the ball, but now they're down 21. Eric Wynn, reception out of the backfield, has about 6 yards, pushed out of bounds by Kyle Roberts, and then a little insurance shove by John Fiala.
Fiala didn't want Wynn to fall down. He was just trying to
Keep him up.
keep him up.
That's actually the last 6 first down attempts have moved the ball very well, getting 6 or more yards, either running or throwing the football. They still have the offense to make this a football game. As I said, I've seen times before where they've been way behind, come back.
Give it to McCullough. He breaks the line of scrimmage onto the open again. And Tony Parrish and Ink Malahaga double team, and there might be a late flag there as Mark Gregg just sent a Husky flying well after the play.
Well, we know that there traditionally are a lot of late hits in the Oregon-Washington game. These guys get after each other pretty good. You know, the Huskies have lost 2 in a row to the Ducks. They've not lost 3 in a row since, what, 1920?
28, 29, 30, and 31. 4 in a row.
Well, that was Sonny's first sophomore year down at Ashland, wasn't it?
Yeah, the Grizzlies.
Graziani rolls away from Chorak. Throws downfield, has the tight end Blake Spence for a first down in Husky territory at the 49. He actually looked off Eric Wynn in the flat and went downfield to Spence.
And in this case, Graziani is lucky that he threw the ball behind Blake Spence because it helped Blake with his body shield the ball off between him and the Husky defender. You're going to see him. He's looking downfield. Wynn, there's another wide receiver deep. Instead, he sees Spence coming across, is thrown behind him. Seeing that just took away the opportunity of that Husky to get his hand in there.
That's a smart move. Good quarterbacking by Graziani. You never want to count out a passing team, Woody.
Well, they average a minute and a half on their drive, so they could score twice before halftime here.
Trap play to McCullough. Tripped up at the line of scrimmage and falls forward for 2 yards.
Good job that time, Mac Tuiaea.
And a late flag in the Husky secondary. And
Like
Damon Griffin looked like maybe somebody took a pop at him because he came hipping and hopping back into the huddle.
Well, you know, rivalries are great, but coaches say
After the play, dead ball, personal foul, defense. 15 yards from the end of the run, first
hey,
down.
fellas, go after each other, play hard, but it's not a license to be stupid. And those kinds of, I mean, Jim Lambright's got to be going crazy when you give up 15 yards on some sort of verbal remark.
Just play the game. Well, that's what happens when you get those feisty receivers downfield blocking for your running back, Woody.
Well,
Deep.
Sonny, they learned this from watching NBA games, all that trash talking. This never happened in football when we played.
No.
It's very cordial out there.
1st and 10 at the
You don't buy
Washington
that, do you?
32. No, I don't. Not for a minute. Graziani, late throw. Again, hit as he released it. Blake Spence, the receiver, and all over him, Ink Aliaga.
Good
Gain of
job.
4.
Good job by Jason Chorak. He was ready there to lower the boom when Graziani and held up, and good smart move. You see a bad move mentally, and then you see a good move.
Well, it's experience. I think the personal foul was on Mel Miller, the redshirt freshman, and Chorak, obviously an experienced veteran.
Good job by Graziani of finding the underneath receiver, and you saw him short arm it there so he could get it there in a hurry.
Little slingshot.
I'll tell you, Graziani's ready to play today. He's taken a lot of hits and stood in there.
3:24 in the second quarter. McCullough spins away from one tackler and bounces forward for a gain of almost 3 to the 26-yard line. John Fiala wrapped him up there. A big third down coming up from Oregon with 3:10 to go in the second quarter. They need some points going into the locker room at halftime. Right now it's 21-0, and they've been down here before. It's the second time they've been in Washington territory deep, but they have not been able to put any points on the board.
Ducks only 2 for 6 in third down conversions so far.
Here's the option play. McCullough one-on-one with Fiala, and McCullough diving for the sticks. Where are they going to mark him? Right at the marker. Well, a great effort by both Fiala and McCullough. And it looks like McCullough dove just far enough to get the first down. Would have made Greg Louganis proud.
And that's just like throwing a pass play here. You've got the linebacker one-on-one with your tailback. Good job by the linebacker of pushing him out there.
Very favorable spot.
The Ducks are over there trying to cut a couple of the links out of the chain. I think they're about a whisker shy. This one's tighter than fuzz on a tick's ear.
Whoa.
Yeah, I thought we had used that up earlier in the season, Sonny. I'm sorry you had to hear that one. Well, that is a favorable spot.
It's tough to tell from that angle,
You
but
bet.
from the sideline, you can tell it was a very favorable one.
But this is not a gimme here. 4th and a quarter inch is not a gimme.
That's a good call, though, in that third down situation.
Graziani has run the option a couple other times this year. He's an excellent option quarterback. I'd like to see him come out and fake the pitch once and then turn it up. I think
He didn't have time to do any faking on that last one.
no.
McCullough has the first down.
I'm amazed they don't sneak it. You know, they got that amount of, they pull a guard. That's a lot of confidence in your offensive line, and more power to them. They just executed.
Well, they've had a lot of success handing off to McCullough today, and it just looked like a normal play.
Excellent surge by, the offensive line really has played well the last 3 drives for the Ducks. And on that holding penalty, it was not an offensive lineman who got caught either. It was a fullback.
1st and 10 for Oregon at the Washington 19. 2:20 to go in the quarter. Graziani, 3-step drop outside. He's got Josh Wilcox with Parrish. He breaks the tackle. Nigel Burton trying to prevent the touchdown, and Wilcox is dumped inside the 1.
It's only a matter of time before Graziani was going to get the ball to his favorite big play receiver, Josh Wilcox. This guy can bring the crowd to life.
He's got to be a crowd favorite. You know, you look at it, it looks like a loose cannon kind of guy. Been a star here for 3 seasons, 4 seasons. No chance right there for the tackle.
That was an excellent tackle. I guarantee if he had tried to tackle him high like this guy here did, he's going to get run over.
So 1st and goal inside the 1. McCullough. Touchdown, Oregon. Saladin McCullough.
80-yard drive.
Well, and Oregon needed that one, Ken, if they were going to stay in this ball game. The way Washington has controlled play on the scoreboard, they needed to have something before the half.
And they did it in impressive fashion. Look at the offensive line. Wynn, number 31, good block. Wiggins, number 72, excellent surge. There's two pretty good tailbacks out there today, folks.
So the point after becomes interesting now. This is a point after good, and the Ducks get their first points. We'd like to tell you I think it was Derek Krug wearing 32, but we'll double check that one at halftime. Anyway, the Ducks finally get on the board, 21-7 with 1:50 to go.
Big lift for the Ducks before halftime, though,
Yeah.
guys. That was an impressive drive.
Well, they did a lot for me, Sonny. I was getting ready to go out and warm up the car.
Is that cab still waiting for you outside the stadium?
We'll just have him turn the engine off. Very impressive drive.
That's what you get, though, when you've got 5 of your 6 people up front on the offensive line and tight ends are seniors.
So Matt Brewer to kick it off. This is a very short kick. Now Cam Kissel. This is the most fair catches I've seen on kickoffs in a long time.
I don't understand. It's just like a punt. They got to give you 2 yards to catch it. Well, that's actually a free ball. So I meant it. They could go down and hit you right as the ball got there. But.
Right. You have to touch the ball first. You have to be given the opportunity on a kickoff, even on an onside kick.
Well, this is more boring than NFL kickoffs, you know? Let's get the fast guys up in the wedge.
Well, I got a pretty good game now, 21-7. Washington with the ball. They have a 1st and 10 at their own 30 and 2 timeouts if they would want to go into that hurry-up offense. They can give it to Dillon and still be in the hurry-up, can't you?
He can get there in a hurry, Todd.
5 yards there on 1st down.
Well, you want to run some good plays here, the Huskies do, but you don't want to throw a pass that's going to be really tough and get it picked off and give them added momentum to the Ducks before halftime.
Husky offensive lineman does a great job. You see 39 Vanderveer is under a pile of guys because one of the defensive linemen was driven right into him, right over the top. Got to keep your linebackers free if you're going to defend the run.
1:16 to go in the quarter. 2nd down and 5. Back to Dillon. Breaks through the tackle of Desmond Byrd and almost got away from Reggie Jordan. 1st down Huskies. Clock is now stopped with 1:07. Now the field position has changed a little bit, Sonny. You think they put it up?
Well, I don't think right now, but I think the one thing that they're going to probably use a timeout here pretty soon and figure that out.
And they're going to let it roll here.
It is kind of interesting. The Huskies are just sitting there pounding them. Maybe they feel they're not going to have a problem scoring as many points as they need.
3 wideouts now. Quarterback draw. Oh, that's a nice play by the inside linebacker, Chris Vanderveer.
Young Catlett, number 70, the fill-in left guard for the Huskies, needs to just knock that Vanderveer down. It looked like he was going to get more yardage than he did.
Well, it's interesting. They're running the football here.
Washington.
Oregon has actually
Number 2.
defended the run a little bit better this last quarter and a half than the pass. We saw Hewitt was 8 for 9 at one point, I believe.
Well, the Ducks have also been called for 2 pass interferences as well. So timeout for Washington. They have 1 left. 40 seconds remaining in the half. There's Joshua Smith, obviously disappointed. And we do not know the extent of the injury. Young man was a walk-on last year. Remember Matt Belden last year hurt in the first ball game against Utah. And Joshua Smith was watching cartoons on Saturday mornings in Colorado Springs, and they called him the next day and said, hey, we need a kicker. Can you get here tomorrow? And he said yes, and he had a wonderful first season and has had a good year this year as well, as he's done a nice job, 10 of 14 kicking field goals.
Well, and one of his great accomplishments last year was at Husky Stadium. 3 field goals, and I'll tell you what, that was not a kicker's day. The wind was swirling around, and
he was the Pac-10 Special Teams Player of the Week, I believe, that week. That was a tough day. You talk about that last kick by John Wales. I've never seen a ball go sideways like that because of the wind. as quick as it did. That was unbelievable. I was in that end zone at the time, and it was unreal.
Well, you missed a lot of the kicks of the 68 through 70 years for Oregon. A lot of balls went that way.
Ken the Toe Woody.
2nd and 5 for the Huskies. Go to the drop play. This is Reed. He busts it up the gut. He's still on his feet. Vanderveer holding on for dear life at the 36-yard line. Timeout with 34 ticks left.
Good call by the Huskies that time. The Ducks are playing back not to let anything deep, so they're giving that underneath stuff there, Woody.
That's right, and you know, that he can get into the secondary just as quickly as a pass completion.
Tight end, and he stays inbounds short of the first down. So now the Huskies will have to use a timeout.
Their last timeout.
Right.
Key play by Young there. He caused the Huskies to have to burn that timeout. Nice open field tackle.
Number 3.
So Brigham with the reception, the timeout for the Huskies with 24 seconds to go.
Now this is where the redshirt freshman quarterback has to use the clock wisely. 24 ticks, and you got Corey Dillon back in the ball game now.
Well, the Huskies have spread their pass receptions out pretty good today, and you can't zero in on any one guy. The one thing different with this Husky team, well, there are probably several things, but one thing, their wide receivers are better than they've been the last couple of years. A lot more speed.
They have really, really stepped it up, Woody. That's probably one of the most improved aspects of the offense. Jerome Pathan leading the way, but having senior leadership with Dave Janoski really helps that guy out there, number 7. There's Jerome Pathan. He's just had a tremendous year. Acrobatic catches, good special teams play, and coming up with some big first down catches.
Well, the Huskies got a lot of guys who can beat you one-on-one. Brock Hewitt, 9 for 10. That's 90%.
And they're all underclassmen.
Yes. Yeah, they've got to be the early preseason pick next year to win the conference, I would think, with their youth now coupled with experience for next year.
Well, and this year is not over yet. They're still in the hunt for the big one.
Yes, they are.
They need some help, and right now they've got a 2nd and 3. Fumble by Heward. This may be the final play of the quarter. Fumbled and recovered by Oregon. That's the 2nd time that Heward has left the ball on the carpet. And coming away with it is Buddy Smith, a young redshirt freshman from Vashon, Washington. Former high school teammate of Jason Shorak.
Boy, you hate to waste a big, long timeout like that.
I'm sure that wasn't what they talked about in the huddle.
And then the Ducks call timeout. There's really no need to call timeout because the clock stops on a possession change. Interesting, you know, it's almost like the Huskies were a little bit too methodical on that drive. Never in real hurry.
But a lot of it, Woody, is you didn't want to make the mistake of an interception, some big play to give the Ducks an opportunity. I believe they called timeout just so they can get it right here. 19 seconds, possibly 2 big plays, 2 attempts to try and get in the end zone before halftime.
And if nothing else, Ken, Oregon goes into the locker room with a touchdown and then a turnover in the last 2 minutes of the half.
But although you may try for the big play here, remember, every time you drop back to pass against a team that's got 27 sacks, you got a chance to give up a big play to the defense as well. And they can't take that right now. I guarantee you, this crowd, the Oregon defense cannot take a big play against them on defense.
Oregon does have 2 timeouts remaining, but at their own 29-yard line, and with their kicker unavailable, you really wonder what you can do.
Well, if I'm the free safety, I'm thinking Pat Johnson's on top. I need to help on him.
Well, there's Pat Johnson. They gave him a nice cushion of about 15 yards.
Wise move.
Yes, indeed.
3 seconds. Good 3 seconds. Well, you know they're not going to be able to get it down here and try a field goal, probably. This just keeps the lines at the bathroom from getting too long too soon at halftime.
Spacer.
14 seconds on the clock. Washington 21-7. Corey Dillon, 3 touchdown runs. Graziani, the out pattern for Patrick Johnson. Again, he scoots out at about the 49-yard line, and that one took 5 seconds.
He could throw one more of that kind of pass, get it on that side of the 50, and then throw it in the end zone.
The Hale Duck.
Yeah, it's the Hale Duck.
Well, you got to watch out for that guy. You know, he fakes the out, and all of a sudden he slips by and goes deep. That's a good job by Kyle Roberts to keep him in front of him.
The Huskies have tackled very well in the secondary today. They're aware the Ducks have got a lot of big play guys.
I was just airing it out. He actually has a man down there, Damon Griffin, and it's batted away. Kind of a jump ball situation, and there's Jermaine Smith getting some action now at the corner spot, another redshirt freshman.
He's in there for Mel Miller. Jermaine Smith, a little banged up coming into the ball game. It's good to see him out there playing.
Bothered with a shoulder injury. He was certainly questionable during the course of the week. They decided to hold him out early in this game. So this should be the final play of the half, unless there is a defensive foul. Set up a screen to Kevin Parker. He's got Tassi Malapaya out in front of him. And Parker tackled at the 34-yard line. Good gain, but the Ducks have run out of time. Well, the first half is in the books. Washington leading Oregon 21-7. We'll have our halftime activities after this timeout. Ready for the start of the second half. Washington leading Oregon 21-7. Take a look at the first half numbers. You can see pretty even in the rushing department. And surprisingly, it's Washington with more yards through the air. The turnovers hurt both teams, and time of possession, surprisingly, in Oregon's favor.
You bet. The third down conversion is a big difference right now.
So to begin the third quarter, Oregon will receive the football. Kevin Parker and Patrick Johnson deep. They haven't had much of a chance today. Here's another one of those very short, high kicks. Garth White, a linebacker. They might turn him into a fullback here. Former Thurston High School product at the 35.
And you notice they eschewed the fair catch. You know, they've been doing a pretty good job of holding the Huskies' coverage, you know, from getting down there right away. That's a good deal. Catch the ball and get up the field.
Well, he's the same size as a fullback.
A good football player for Don Stone, former Oregon player, Don Stone. So Oregon with the football. They ended the first half on a positive note with a touchdown, and they actually moved the ball a little bit in the final couple of seconds as well. But they're down 14. Play action on first down. Graziani hit as he throws. Excellent pressure by Ritchie and Chorak. And Ritchie sent Graziani down to the Omni-Turf.
And the difference between the first half and the second half is in the second half, after the Huskies flatten you, they don't help you up. Now maybe that was part of Lambright's halftime talk, like, hey, when he gets down on the ground, let him get up on his own.
The redshirt freshman having the better of it statistically so far.
Well, and I don't think Heward has been hit yet, has he?
No, not yet. Just on the quarterback draw.
Yeah, the only thing he's done poorly is he dropped 2 balls. He fumbled it twice. 2nd and 10 for Oregon, just underway. Second half. Go back to Saladin McCullough. He's had a good day, and he could have had a big gain there, but what was that? Ink Aliaga at the bottom there got Chorak. Just did get a shoelace or two. And a gain of 3 out to the 45-yard line. It'll be 3rd down and 6.
Chorak doing this with Paul Wiggins laying on top of him right there, just driving him down to the ground, but Chorak doing a great job to stick the hand out and make the tackle.
Chorak only a junior. Comes the blitz by Aliaga. They're going to go deep to Damon Griffin. Griffin's got it. Penalty flag as well. We'll see who the interference might be on. The Husky bench is saying it might be on Griffin. Nigel Burton, the man in coverage. And it will be against Oregon. Bring it back.
Pass interference.
Yes.
Offense. 15 yards.
They always call the guy that does it second, right, Woody?
Yep. But you know, the one thing about those kind of situations, just like basketball, there's going to be some bumping. And I think you got to really decide, is it a bump or is he interfering with the other guy's chance to play the football? In a lot of cases, the defender's back is turned. He doesn't know where it is anyway. That's a tough break.
Well, the Ducks have tried to go long several times today and have not been successful. We've had a couple of 3-pass interferences called, twice on the Huskies, once on Oregon.
And that's a 55-yard penalty from where the ball would have been with a first down, and now it's 3rd and 20.
Graziani trying to roll away from the pressure. This ball is caught by Griffin out around midfield, and he's going to come up about a yard shy of the first down, maybe 2. They'll mark it just inside the 50-yard line, so it'll be a yard and a half shy of the first down. Well, maybe it's time to roll the dice.
Yeah, on those kind of plays, though, Damon Griffin has got to get down and get the distance. If you're going to throw a big pass 18, 19 yards, what's the difference going 21?
Well, Graziani would say that he can't, if it went 21, I'd been hit before I could release the football there. But still, Oregon's punter appreciates the extra 19 yards, and the defense, you know, if they can get the Huskies down inside the 10 or so, gives them a better chance of getting the offense good field position down the road.
Remember, the only other punt Oregon had, they had a very poor snap, and they've got a low snap again. Bidwell, this one kind of just rolls over. Pathon at the 22, and he'll be down right there.
I guarantee you Washington will rush a bunch of guys on the next punt attempt. 2 consecutive bad snaps are going to come after him.
Plus on the field goal, so that's 3. I'm not sure if that was a bad snap, but it was a mishap on the special teams.
Well, special teams always seem to play a big part in this rivalry. Look at Bidwell, did a decent job just to get rid of that football. Yeah, you know, I've been watching these games for a while, and you guys have too, and always the special teams, and usually it's Washington that has the upper edge. See the third quarter scoring. It's been tough going in the third quarter for both of these teams. The only team that's done worse is Stanford. They've only scored 2 points in the third quarter all year. There's a whistle and the flag before the play starts.
Must be motion against the Huskies, but that flag, he took forever to get out of his pocket to throw it in the air.
Huskies with their 4th penalty of
Dead
the
ball,
day.
no play. Ball start, offense. 5 yards, repeat first down.
Well, you know, you talk about the third quarter for the Ducks. They've been outscored 79-34, and one thinks if they can get out of the third quarter even, they got a chance to win the football game.
It's not the way the Huskies want to start the third quarter.
Huskies with the wind at their backs in the third quarter. The sun trying to break through here. In a fog-shrouded day so far. It's cold. Mid-40s down on the field. Back to Dillon. Establish him again, and there he goes. He runs right through Chris Young, and he's off to the races.
He's gone. Nope.
Kenny Wheaton, the only man with a chance to catch him. And he does. Inside the 10. What a great effort by Wheaton. But Dillon just busting it big on 1st and 15.
Well, I think if Corey knew that Wheaton had that angle on him, he would have cut back a lot sooner because he had a blocker out there. Oh, they're just knocking everybody on their back up front.
Oh boy, Benji Olsen, 76, big hit. Corey Dillon.
Now right here, you think he might have taken a left turn because he did have a blocker, but he couldn't get him there in time. Wheaton's an old warhorse. He's playing on a bad leg. A nice effort to get there.
21 carries, 157 yards.
So 1st and goal for the Huskies. They've scored on every opportunity inside the 10. Counter play to Mike Reed. He busts it in there inside the 5 down to the 3. And you're just giving Dillon an opportunity to catch his breath.
We've talked about psychological mindset of the Oregon defense. Here they stop him on first down. It doesn't count because there's a penalty. They get him back there, and the guy goes for 60 yards. They don't have the fire that we've seen in the years past on defense. Even actually when they've made some good plays today, the enthusiasm is not quite there.
Ducks will have to go the rest of the way without Bryant Jackson, their outstanding nose tackle, leg injury. 2nd and goal. Reed tries to cut back against the green. He's down to about the 1-yard line.
Good hit down there, but Mike Reed, really in the spring game last spring and coming into fall camp, has been a very productive running back. He just hadn't seen the ball much, Todd, in the last 3 or 4 games.
There was a fumble on that play, but recovered by Washington. Yeah, Mike comes into today with the 1 touchdown, only averaging 2.5 yards a carry. But when you've got guys like Rashawn Sheehy and Corey Dillon that can take it the distance at any moment, those fullbacks don't get a lot of opportunity.
Well, he had been playing fullback and going to tailback, but 25, George Quiejo, is the better blocker.
Dillon looking for number 4. He stepped up at about the 2, and he's dropped for a small loss. It's a good surge there by the Oregon defense, spearheaded by Kenny Wheaton and Garth White. And the Huskies, looks like they're bringing on the special teamers for a field goal.
Great effort up front. You see White take him down. I'll tell you what, that guy does not go down easy. White stood him up, and 4 other Ducks got on the pile. But you know, the defense there, they made a great play. There's 4 other guys standing on the side there, just ho-humming it.
Here's the nervous part for the Huskies.
Tough angle for John Wales. Shane Fortney to hold, and Wales knocks that one through. So John Wales with the field goal. That's his first field goal in the last 2.5 games. But he knocks it through, and the Huskies, on their first possession of the 3rd quarter, get 3 more points. 24-7, 10:40 remaining, 3rd quarter. Todd McKim along with Ken Woody and Sonny Sixkiller at Autzen Stadium in Eugene, where the Huskies lead Oregon 24-7.
Do you think the Huskies would notice if you just put your 2 deep guys in as the 2 middle wedge guys? All the kicks are going to them.
Well, it used to be that the kickoff was one of the most exciting plays in football. Now they're going to kick it a little deep. They get that nice lead and mix it up a little bit. And John says, hey, I could have done that all day.
Well, that's a heck of a kick.
You bet.
Nice to have a little bit of wind at your back.
Scoring drive for the Huskies culminated with a 19-yard field goal by John Wales. The big play, Corey Dillon.
Good to see John Wales making his first attempt today. As you mentioned, he hasn't had a lot of them, so anything positive like that is good for John Wales and for the Huskies.
Oregon 1st and 10 at their own 20. Graziano under some pressure, throwing it deep for Damon Griffin. And this ball is batted away. Excellent defensive play by Jermaine Smith. He was step for step, stride for stride with Griffin.
Perfect pass. What you'd like is to have your wide receiver get a step somewhere in there with a move, not just try to run by the guy. I'm not sure that was the case in that situation. We've seen Graziani throw the ball deep very accurately today, and only because the Huskies are in excellent position.
See, at that point, if you're the receiver, you almost want to slow down a little bit and try to create some contact, but Smith was right there.
A little bit underthrown.
There's the counter play to Saladin McCullough, and spins forward for about 4 yards to the 24-yard line. Jason Chorak, once again, you know, he's known as a speed rusher on the outside, but we've seen him make some plays coming inside.
Good play by the Husky down lineman. I'll tell you, the Oregon offensive line is doing a good job getting to those linebackers all day. We haven't been mentioning their names as often as we'd like to. If you're a Husky fan, Woody would think different.
Well, that offensive line, really from the middle of the latter stage of the 1st quarter on, they've played very well.
3rd and 6. Graziani with good time throws out outstanding defensive play. There's one of your linebackers, Jerry Jensen, on Josh Wilcox with a nice defensive play.
Absolutely. One reason why they moved Jerry Jensen to that weak backer spot is for a pass coverage, and we saw a great example right there. Scott Pellure, knowing he made a great play. When you coach those position people, Woody, just like the linebackers, when they come up like that, makes you proud.
And that's quite a compliment that you can, you know, that your outside guys are having a hard time staying with them deep all the time, to have guys be able to provide that underneath coverage. And that's, you know, that's Josh Wilcox. He's a big play guy, and linebacker did a terrific job. I'd look for a punt rush right here.
Well, they're not showing punt rush. Jerome Pathon back at his own 38. This one turns over a little bit. Pathon will call for the fair catch and make it at the 40. So the Ducks go 3 and out offensively. And now the Huskies back out on the field. They lead it 24-7. 9:26 to go in the quarter. Washington leading Oregon and with possession of the football at their own 40. Brock Huard has gone the entire distance. Most of the games this year, the Huskies have played 2 quarterbacks, but Shane Fortney really been bothered the last couple of weeks with that leg injury. And it's going to take him a while, maybe even the rest of the season before he's 100%. It might be next year before he's 100%. So Huard getting the call today and doing a great job. Huard, hitch pass, and Jerome Pathon thought it was the hitch and go. He certainly went.
Well, he saw Ronnie Gibson in the lineup, I think, and there was a checkoff, and he did the old stutter and go, and he was going to be open, folks.
Yes, he was. Jerome Pathon and Brock Huard have hooked up on that pattern many times this season, Kenny, right down the sideline. Got to get on the same page, though.
Yeah.
A rare incompletion for Brock Huard, 9 of 11. 2nd and 10. When in doubt, give it to Corey Dillon. And he gets 3 yards to the 48-yard line. Ryan Clausen, along with Chris Young, on the stop for Oregon. Well, you see, when the Huskies have a 100-yard rusher, it's just about money in the bank, isn't it?
That's a heck of a record.
Yep.
Well, we've seen the same thing for Oregon, Todd. Anytime they get a guy 100 yards, they normally win too.
Well, that's what you were saying during the timeout. You got to be able to rush the ball a little bit to offset the passing and make it all work together.
And give your offensive lineman a chance to hit somebody too.
Janoski, the motion man. Screen set up here for Dillon. And that was a dangerous ball. Oregon had that well defended.
Ronnie Gibson, 23 for the Ducks, had a chance.
Washington lucky they weren't called for holding there. Mark Schmidt, number 54, had broken loose. Guy had a hold of his jersey. Oregon, excellent position on defense that time. Good pressure plus coverage on the receiving part of it.
For me, Sarshard booted away. Bad drop on that one as he tried to kick that ball, and it did not go the way he wanted it to. And the adventures continue in the Husky kicking game. Their coverage has been outstanding this year. You talk about, you know, Al Roberts coming back to the program and the things they've done on coverage this year and returns, but the actual kicking and punting the ball has really been a concern.
Yes, it has been. The other thing that Al's done is he's really gotten that special teams together. You can block and get the perfect snap and all those things coverage, but the guy with the ball still got to do his job.
It's always the case, isn't it? That's why you quarterbacks were so important. So a timeout on the field, 8:50 to go in the third quarter. Washington leading 24-7. Oregon 1st and 10 at their own 28. McCullough trying to weave and make something out of nothing, and he could not. And one of the few times today that McCullough has been trapped near or around the line of scrimmage.
David Ritchie, 97 for the Huskies, I believe, disrupted the whole blocking scheme. Nowhere for McCullough to go.
And Josh Smith, a sophomore out of Bellingham.
D.H. Ritchie.
Yep.
Actually, he's in Husky country down there. Rushing yards, 180 to 2.
92.
There's that screen out to Patrick Johnson, and this time it's Jermaine Smith coming up to make the quick tackle. Minimal gain of 3 yards.
You got to close quick on speedsters like that, Woody.
You do. A little scuffling on the sideline there. Huskies, you know, very well techniqued in the secondary. You can see when they get a speed demon, they're going to take away the inside and force you to the outside and run you out of bounds. Watch here. Now this guy, you do not want to make Wilcox almost caught for clipping there. Very effective tackle. And those guys aren't inviting him over to the fraternity for after the game either, I'll tell you.
Well, let's not talk about players going to parties. So it's 3rd and 8. Comes Aliaga on a blitz inside. Chorak coming to the outside, and Graziani just throws this one basically out of bounds. Well, again, 3 and out for Oregon. That's consecutive possessions where the offense has not been able to get even a first down. And the Huskies with big pressure and a little stunt in there with the backer and the defensive end.
Watch Jason Chorak, 46, coming from, whoa, that was almost a hold right there on Ink Aliaga, but Jason, good speed for a guy on the down line, and actually being 255 pounds, you know, he's noted for that. He's got to have speed.
How many times do you think Graziani has been hit on a pass that he's still been able to get off? It's got to be around 10 times so far. He's taken some real hard one-on-one hits.
Huskies might come after this one. They do. And Bidwell roots it out of there. Fair catch called for by Pathon and makes it at the 36-yard line. So an exchange of punts. The Huskies come back out onto the field with 7:50 to go in the 3rd quarter. The Huskies on the road next week to travel down to the Coliseum and take on the USC Trojans. That'll be a Rose Bowl elimination game for sure. And the Ducks will have another week off. 2 weeks from now, they'll take on the Arizona Wildcats. You see the remaining Washington schedule. They get a win today and a big game down at USC.
Real challenge.
Yep. Margin for error for Washington is just about none if you're thinking Rose Bowl. There's Pathon, busts it through there again. He's just running over guys. Gain of 8 yards.
Good guy to follow when you got a big tackle, or excuse me, guard. Ben Cadlett's number 70. He has done a really good job filling in for Bob Sapp. Bob Sapp thought he might be able to get a little playing time today, but being held out so far.
Yeah, Bob made the trip. His intentions were to play. You see
Vandeveer, 39, really reacted quickly, but he had his head down and didn't see Dillon as he went by.
Tough to tackle anybody that way.
2nd and short. Play action pass. Heward underneath. Pathon with a reception. Ronnie Gibson the tackle.
Well, if you want to know why Heward is so accurate today, the Ducks have been unable to get any pressure on him at all.
The other thing is that Oregon does not have a tall defensive line, and Heward at 6'6" is going to be able to look over and find receivers. Pathon, nice catch, and Gibson holding on.
Fundamentally, he's a very good quarterback. Stands tall, quick release.
He's had to grow up in a hurry.
National High School Player of the Year 2 years ago. Dillon, oh, huge hole again. Somebody's got one leg down there. Who was that, Ryan Clausen? Yeah, Clausen.
We saw that in the first half, boys, and uh-oh, there goes the fill-in. Cadlett's number 70 limping off the field.
Just a little cutback there, and nobody at home except Clausen, and holding on to that pant leg. But a gain of 7 for Corey Dillon. He's well on his way to having a season high as far as yardage is concerned. His best game this year, 173 yards against Stanford. You can see right now, he's over that, and he's averaging almost 7 a carry.
Let's watch out here. We've got 2 subs in there now. Petro Kessie at center, number 55.
Didn't seem to make much difference, Sonny, did it? They get right into the safeties. It's Clausen and the 2 safeties, Young and McLemore, combining for the stop. And that is a Washington first down at the Oregon 28-yard line.
Reggie Jordan laying on the turf down there. 47 for the Ducks.
Well, I don't think there's been one time, and that was down by the goal line, that Dillon was tackled today where he was not ending up going forward. That was the only time really the Ducks were able to stand him up and get him going the other way.
And you said it right too, Woody. Ducks, there were 5 of them.
I want to know how Dillon could not be first team.
Well, Lambright has a rule that you're the starter. You're the starter unless you play yourself out of the position. And Rashawn Sheehy hasn't done it.
We'll be back. Washington with the ball and the lead. First and 10 for Washington. 5:52 on a running clock, third quarter. Yeah, we have a couple of the Ducks in the neutral zone.
But only a couple.
It's good to see Bryant Jackson back in the ball game.
We got a
Dead
note that he
ball,
was
no
out.
play. Offside, defense. 5 yards, repeat first down.
The Huskies are tough enough to stop first and 10. First and 5 is going to be even more difficult. There's Hewitt did a nice job of mixing up the snap count. Evidently, he'd been going on that first sound a lot, and the Ducks didn't try to anticipate it. It's a heady move by a young guy if that's what he did do.
7 penalties for 67 yards against Oregon. First and 5. He's going to throw it. He wants to play quarterback. Hey, he's got Janoski, and he overthrew him.
Well, we've detected the weakness in Dylan's repertoire.
I think Dave a little bit underestimated that pass.
Yeah.
Sonny looked like he was kind of there and got his legs twisted up a little.
Yeah, I think he turned around too soon and couldn't recover. He should have just kept going towards the back, but he was getting near the back of the end zone. Good look.
This wasn't even a real good run fake, but you know, as soon as he gets his hands on the ball, you better be ready to come up, and nobody back deep for the Ducks. They were fooled expecting to run. Good call.
Second and 5. Dylan right side, he's hit behind the line of scrimmage. Chris Vanderveer knifing in from the inside linebacker position. It's a loss of 1.
You bet. Give Vanderveer a lot of credit. The guy's enthusiastic out there. He's been run over a couple of times today. He just had his moment, and that's the way it is for those linebackers. You get me, I'll get you next time. I'm sure Chris would wish that he had another 20 more pounds to bring with him when he tried to get Dylan, though.
Gonna bring a bag of rocks with him next week. 3rd and 6. Janoski, the motion man. Here's a little hitch pass to Pathon, working on Kip East. And it's a first down, Washington.
Jerome Pathon is having his way out there with those young cornerbacks.
Well, we've seen this ever since game number 1. And Kenny Wheaton intercepted 2 passes. They just don't throw the ball in his direction anymore. No matter who's playing on the other side, that's the guy that's going to get worked on.
Every team seems to have some situation like that, though, Todd. You got it strong and you got the weak, and it just takes some experience.
So first down for Washington at the Oregon 15. So moving again, it's Dylan. As a penalty flag is thrown, gain of about 3. We'll check out the flag. Well, you're doing some things that you would expect from an experienced quarterback, adjusting the cadence, getting the defensive line off balance.
A lot of that, too, is the offensive linemen making calls to each other on their blocking schemes.
Offside, defense. 5 yards, repeat first down.
So, I don't know, Little League football, high school football, college, pros, watch the ball. If you're a down lineman right there in front of the football, my God.
You make a good defensive line coach, Sonny.
Hey, don't move until you see the ball move.
That's exactly right. Well, 5 yards inside the 20-yard line is a big 5 yards. It's first and 5 from the 10.
Well, when you're seeing stars and your head is ringing, and those little fundamental things are hard to keep in mind.
Double tight end alignment for Washington. Play action pass, Dylan. And it's almost picked up. It's caught! That ball got squeezed through 2 Oregon defenders, and Cam Cleland gets the touchdown, his 2nd of the year.
A bullet.
That is the same pass the Huskies completed on their first ball to the tight end down the field for about 35 yards. That time, tight end was covered pretty good. He adjusted. Hewitt stayed with him and threw a rifle in there.
And the Huskies break it open.
Good decision.
Bryant Jackson is offside again unless he was encroached. That'd be 3 times on one drive in one series where Oregon would be offside with a defensive lineman. Bryant Jackson last year, it looks like he was pulled off this side. Bryant Jackson last year
Dead ball. false start, offense. 5 yards, try.
Was one of the best in the nation at getting his hands on field goals and PATs. He got his hands on one last year in Seattle when the Ducks blocked a point after a field goal and a punt. They had 9 blocked kicks last year. They haven't been able to get one this year. A lot of that has to do with the new rule where you can't really make contact with that center. And despite the penalty, the point after is good anyway. So with 4 minutes to go in the third quarter, the Huskies have broken open. They lead the Ducks 31-7.
Well, I don't see Patrick Johnson moved up yet, Woody.
Well, Wales last time booted one about 6 yards into the end zone. I got to think at this point the Huskies wanted to become physical. They're just going to kick it around. Now they're going to pooch it again. It's going to be returned by Christian Anderson.
Pat Johnson got to be the wedge. He ran up in front of there and tried to make a block.
Well, this was the scenario that Oregon wanted to avoid, where they had to throw the ball against a Washington front that really likes to get after the quarterback. The Huskies have 2 official sacks today, and they've had a bunch of hits on Graziani as well. And now you would expect them to really tee off in this situation.
Good look at big Cam Cleland there, Cedro Willie Washington. Fans up there like me to mention their town.
Cedro, well, that's actually a pleasing town to say.
Frankie Malloy on the late blitz. Incomplete. Ink Aliaga on the coverage. The crowd wants an interference call.
It was close.
Well, if Sonny says it closed, that means it was flagrant. I mean, for all the ones that they've called the other way today, that was pretty flagrant.
Pretty good throw, though, by Graziani. Fans couldn't see it from that point, but it looked like he may have had his right hand on Josh Wilcox's back.
Well, Oregon very frustrated now. Close one's not going their way.
Well, they're going to have to come up with a new halftime speech because the third quarter continues to be a nightmare for Oregon. They have no points in this quarter. They've given up 10. They've been outscored to better than 2-1 in the third quarter. Here's the tight end screen to Wilcox. I'm not a little surprised that he kind of juked in there when he had some move just to go to the outside, but he does get the first down.
All Malapai had to do there was cut the guy, block him low, cut his legs down, and Wilcox could have run another 15 yards. Yeah, that's the first down of the third quarter, isn't it, for the Ducks?
That's correct.
Watch Ink Aliaga, though, right here, 54. That's why he was all Pac-10 last season, for making plays like that, going through the blocker.
You bet. That's where I think you got to block him low and try to cut him down. Good play by Wilcox.
Ink Aliaga making his 32nd start. There's the option to McCullough trying to outrun Fiala to the corner. They kind of meet and have a little collision after a gain of 5. You talk about Ink Aliaga. Sonny, I can remember distinctly when he was redshirting his first year in that spring game where he got an opportunity to step. I mean, even from that spring game his freshman year, you knew this guy was going to be a heck of a ball player.
He's been a real leader also, not only from his football ability, but a real leader for that team. John Fiala also has really risen up, number 57, the leading tackler.
Well, Aliaga is kind of like Cedro Woolley. It just sounds good.
I like the name Ink. It doesn't really mean anything.
There's another screen that was intended for McCullough, but he got caught inside, and Graziani just had to get rid of that ball.
Well, fortunate for the Huskies, they got to Graziani because nobody was out there defending the screen that time. The linebacker responsible for McCullough either got sucked in or was committed himself to the blitz.
See the knee brace on Graziani, injured in the next to the last play of the first half against Nevada.
And at some point here, you wonder how much you want to expose him to further injury when you got somebody like Ryan Perry-Smith in there who can throw the ball pretty good.
Yeah, he turned it up, filling in for Graziani.
Well, he had the best 4-game stretch throwing the ball of anybody in Oregon history.
Big yardage.
Yep. Quick pass deflected at the line of scrimmage. Might have been David Ritchie.
Like Chris Campbell, 35.
Campbell, 35. And so Oregon gets a couple of first downs, moves into Washington territory, but has to give it up.
Well, some of the best pass defense you'll see is guys inside holding their hands up and tipping the ball away from an open receiver.
What that means also, Woody, is that the offensive linemen aren't making and sustaining their contact with the down linemen because they're just sitting there looking at Graziani's eyeballs. When he gets ready to throw the ball, they're just timing.
The Huskies have really improved on defense from last year, as far as I can see.
Well, Roots went out of there. Pathon's just going to let that one watch. It takes a high bounce, and Oregon unable to keep it in the field of play. Touchback. So the 47-yard kick, 27 net, and with 2:23 to go in the third quarter, Washington regains possession of the football.
Well, those are the little things that go against you when you're struggling. A very well kicked ball. You just like to see it maybe come back towards you. Bidwell's an outstanding punter trying to get the ball for the coffin corner inside the 20.
One thing about that kick, though, good yardage, but not much hang time. That was more of a long, looked like a throw.
So Shane Fortney comes in to quarterback the Huskies now.
So much for resting the knee.
Yeah. The one consistent constant has been this guy. There he goes again. Corey Dillon to the 50. The 40. Again, it's Kenny Wheaton, the only man. That's a hold there. It's not caught. And
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. That's going to come back. Boy. It looked like, once again, Wheaton had the angle on Corey Dillon. And somebody just reached out a paw. Might have been Pathon. And that's going to come back a little bit.
Big run again. Corey Dillon. It's that big offensive line wearing down the Oregon defense. Jerome Pathon, hey, great effort, but let go. Come on.
Offense, 10 yards.
And you see Ronnie Gibson finally making the tackle. So,
Well, and that's a break for the Ducks, but it's really tough for the running back. That was a great effort, and he didn't need to do that. He was probably going to break the tackle because Wheaton was off balance. Maybe his hand got stuck in there.
No need to do it, though. You've already got a big gain for positive yardage, and Coach Lambright there going, son, if you can't make the block clean, don't do it.
Or we'll speak more about this in my office on Sunday.
They do grade the films.
Dillon now with 247 yards rushing. Remember, UCLA ran through the Ducks like a hot knife through butter in the third quarter a couple of weeks ago. There's not much there. The third quarter defensively has just really been a nightmare. And again, you wonder if it's a number of things. One, you got the big offensive line wearing on you. And two, not a lot of depth in that Oregon defense, especially up front.
And three, the Oregon offense has the ball 3 drives and gets 1 first down.
That's really a big point, Woody. You know, you hear about that big offense leading the Pac-10 and passing offense. You expect a little more scheme, or you know, you're not going to make it really thrown to the tight end on almost every play.
Well, and they get behind in games, and they feel they have to throw the football. Here's Fortney, his first pass of the day. Now his forte is scrambling and running around. He avoids the rush, but you could see he is clearly not 100%. He's limping around, and at some point you wonder if he's really putting himself in peril.
I don't understand this. They said it 3 games ago that, hey, we need to let him rest. It's going to get better. It's one of those knee injuries. It's just not improving. And I'm certainly looking at him right there. He's got to come out. Look at the look on his face.
I mean, courage and, you know, desire are one thing, but you're just putting yourself in danger here.
Who's the third quarterback?
Third quarterback is a true freshman, John Minter out of Blanchette High School. They want to try and save him for the redshirt year.
So they're trying to redshirt him, and that's really one of the first time the Ducks have got good pressure on the quarterback today.
And immediately Heward comes back in. And
they're going to have to forget about that redshirt year. John Minter's going to have to turn it up a little bit, I feel, for the rest of the season.
Whistle before the play starts, and again, they're working underneath.
Well, I would say this, that if they want to rest Brock, he can just turn and hand it to the tailback the rest of the day. And
well, 31-7 lead. Shane Fortney in there, he should just get a feel.
Ball start, offense. 5 yards, still third down.
Be nice to know what tailback is averaging for that 247 yards.
Well, 28 carries. So you can do the
About 9 yards a pop.
helps.
Pretty good, Woody. It's about 7, 8, 9, somewhere in there.
It's almost a first down every time he touches it.
3rd and 15. The draw play to Reed. Ooh, he's smacked behind the line of scrimmage.
You could smell that one coming.
Derek Allen read that one nicely,
Good job.
along with Mark Schmidt. Well, the Husky record for most yards in a game, Hugh McElhaney, 296 against Washington State in 1950.
Well, where the ball is here on the 30-yard line will really play well for the Husky punters so far today.
Yeah, he's going to have to worry about kicking it in the end zone.
You know what's going
Did
to
you hear
happen
what I
now,
said,
though?
Woody?
You know what's going to happen now? He'll root one out of there.
Yeah, this will land.
The band. Seriously, getting back to the quarterback situation, just a big decision time. They're going to have to really, really think about bringing Minter out, get him ready to play. Especially going down to SC next week.
Well, you're right. You got to get him ready to play because your second guy doesn't look like he's ready to play on a long-term basis. And if you try to save him, if the games go your way, you can do
Dead
that.
ball. Delay a game. Offense. Penalties decline.
Well, they tried to
down.
pick up another 5 yards there, Woody.
Well,
Hey, look at Coach Lambright. Well, it's worth the effort.
the KG Ducks declined the penalty.
A nice punt. Let's see if he gets the roll. That's going to be caught
Yes.
and controlled. That's the big thing. Caught and controlled by the Huskies at the, well, just outside the goal line. Can't get that much closer. That's a great job.
When
of
you're
the-
on top, those are the kinds of things that happen. You get a guy down there, he catches it, and before he goes in the end zone, he flips it back to the next guy. This is a great job by the Huskies.
Good job. Possession right there. Good camera work there.
It's outstanding camera work.
Reggie Davis keeping it in play. Well, 2 years ago, the Ducks had a 98-yard drive against Washington.
And now the Husky fans are, Graziani goes over there and says, go ahead and make noise. There's still some fight in Tony.
Well, that's why the Ducks put all the Husky fans in the end zone.
Graziani's going to throw. He's going to go up top. He's got a man down here, too. Patrick Johnson can't catch it.
There's 35,000 people wanted that one bad. From the, what is it, the 1 inch line?
I don't think you can get it any closer and not have it on the goal line.
Saw a situation there again. The ball was drifting towards the sideline. The wide receiver needs to be a little bit wider and maybe come back and catch that ball.
Running down the numbers like that doesn't
Yeah.
give you a lot of room to adjust.
That's right. Ducks have tried to go deep, but they've not been able to connect so far.
Safety.
I couldn't see the number, boy. Somebody knifed in there. Lester Town, 17 there, Todd.
You know, Ken, you talked earlier when the Ducks had a short yardage on 4th down, how they pull a guy. And when you're handing the ball off 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage, there's an opportunity for penetration. And the Huskies took advantage.
And it's interesting. It's the confidence that they have apparently in making that kind of call that they can get yardage. You see the guard pulling, he can't get there in time to block the guy. It's just really ironic that they're confident to call that kind of play in that situation, and yet in other times, not confident.
Well, Jason Churak had a safety earlier this year on a sack on Sarkeesian of BYU, and another safety, this time Lester Towns.
Normally, you got a big back like that. Aaron Jelk, who's like 245 pounds, let him hammer away and get some positive yardage.
And I'll tell you what, he did knife him down. I've just cut him off at the kneecaps. No chance at all. Watch this tackle. Win. Wynn had blocked the outside guy. The inside guy came there and beat Malapi.
Tough decision for Wynn.
Yeah.
You know, the thing is, you can't run by a guy to block someone else. Probably the thing you'd like to do is get that first guy, and I don't know if that would have helped anyway.
A lot of times you're taught to catch the first color you see. Mike Pilati, he never changes his look too much there on the sidelines, whether they're up or down.
He is a very well-balanced coach, you know, doesn't ever get too high or too low, and I think the Ducks really need that right now. You know, Rich Brooks had a reputation in years past that when things went bad, he'd get kind of down and the team would go down with him. Right now, the Ducks really need that positive leadership.
I always remember Rich Brooks always yelling at the officials or throwing his hat or something.
He was good always for a hat or a clipboard out in the field at least once a game.
He was always John on the Zebras out there.
So a free kick for Oregon, and Bidwell will punt it. And a good one at that.
Beautiful.
Jerome Pathon at the 28. Nice return for Pathon. And back into Oregon territory. End of the quarter, Huskies in total control. We begin the fourth quarter. Washington controlling this one, 33-7. Taking a look at the quarter notes through three. Corey Dilling, a fantastic day so far. 28 carries, 247 yards, 3 touchdowns. Brock Huard, very efficient and in control. And Tony Graziani having a rough day at the office, although Saladin McCullough,
pretty solid day.
especially in the first half.
Yeah,
we ran the ball in the first half.
You know, you guys, you and Woody were talking about Graziani, the Oregon offense coming out, throwing first down run, throwing third down and out of the ball game and punting again.
Well, Corey Dillon right now, this is through 3 quarters with 247 yards. That would be, if it stands, the 5th best mark in Husky history. He's a couple of yards shy of Dennis Fitzpatrick against Washington State in 1974.
Not bad for a quarterback.
Whoa.
Hugh McElhaney just under 300 yards.
I remember years ago, Washington State, Reuben Mays ran for about 366 here.
Well, and McElhaney ran with high tops in mud, didn't get AstroTurf.
Back to Dillon. So he just breaks tackles. He refuses to go down on that first contact. And so now he's got the 4th best mark all time, and he's closing in on Napoleon Kaufman, who had 254 against San Jose State 2 years ago. So he's wiping a few guys off the slate here.
I remember that game for Napoleon Kaufman, 254. He could have been closer to 300, but one of his pulling guards tripped him up at about the 40-yard line.
That. Yep.
He may have been over.
2nd and 5 at the Oregon 41. Punches out about 2 more. Well, for Washington, a victory today keeps them in the Rose Bowl race. They need help, obviously. The only 2 teams going into the weekend that control their Rose Bowl fate were California and Arizona State. And of course, the Huskies basically entering the weekend 2 down to Arizona State after losing that wild one in Tempe to start the season. Big date with USC. The Trojans need to do a little work to secure their 7 wins and qualify for bowl contention. 3rd and short. Out pattern cut by Janoski and Kenny Wheaton. Well, it's kind of interesting that those 2 would finally meet again. Remember the game in 1994? It was Janoski running the out pattern, Wheaton stepping in for the interception.
I believe that's Dave's first catch of the day.
I think it is.
Well, he would have had another one had Dillon not overthrown him in the end zone there.
Janoski, one of the captains, needs only 6 more receptions to crack the Washington all-time top 10 list. And needs only about 72 yards now to crack the top 10 in receiving.
It looks like he got a haircut since the Notre Dame game Sunday.
Well, Dave is a pretty short-haired guy.
First down play, Corey Dillon, and he runs right into Desmond Bird. Gain of 1.
This is where both coaches want that clock to just keep running.
And an injured Oregon player back at the 20-yard line, another leg injury.
Looks like your boy
Chris Young, maybe?
Looks like
16?
your Bryant Jackson, 91. He's had a problem with that a few times.
Yeah. I'm looking at the numbers upside down. Reggie Jordan also out, ankle injury. So the Ducks had the bye week to get healthy, and looks like they're going to need another bye week to get healthy again. Some of those injuries, you guys know all about that. You know, you get an ankle injury, and a lot of times it just never does heal until the next spring. We'll take a timeout and be right back. Washington leading Oregon 33-7 with just under 13 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. Huskies with the ball 2nd and 10 from the Oregon 29-yard line. Janoski is the motion man. Pump fake to him, down and out. Kenny Wheaton might get a pick. He can't stay in bounds or catch it. Great coverage.
Well, on the plus side, no one was called for interference.
Gerald Harris was the intended receiver.
Gerald was running down the sidelines, but he was 3 yards out of bounds running down the sidelines.
Well, the teams have been reluctant after that first game of throwing the ball deep against Wheaton.
Heward 13 of 19, 188 yards. And Kenny Wheaton, some talk around town this week whether or not Kenny Wheaton would return for his senior season. I know you guys lost an outstanding safety. Decided to go pro early. Here's Dillon. He's not touched until he gets about 5 yards into that secondary. Chris Young, the tackle for Oregon. Another redshirt freshman. Talk about inexperience in that secondary. Chris Young, a young man that only practiced 3 days in the spring. And all of a sudden now he's the starter. The Ducks have lost Justin Wilcox, the redshirt freshman from Junction City, for the rest of this year. He will have reconstructive knee surgery. Hope to be back in the spring and possibly compete for the quarterback position.
I thought he was recruited as a quarterback.
He was, but they had to move him to defense when they were racked with injuries early. So John Wales to attempt a 40-yarder. No good. Plenty of leg, a little bit left. So John 1 out of 2 today. And Oregon will take over. See if Graziani comes back into the lineup with that first team offense. Looks like it. You know, this game was pretty close in the first half. The Huskies 21-0, but the Ducks came back and got 7 just before the half, and you know, it looked like a pretty good ball game at that point. But that third quarter, Washington was able to control it, and they seized the game in the third quarter, and they lead it with 11:49 to play. Oregon with possession of the ball, 1st and 10 at their own 23. Graziani to throw on first down as his tight end Wilcox, and he and Nigel Burton kind of collide. Ball might have come loose late, but they say Wilcox was down. Well, Wilcox, one of the all-time Oregon receivers, and as a tight end at that. He's the all-time leader for receptions by a tight end, and he's also one of the all-time, well, he's got, I don't know if he got hit in the head or an arm or what.
I tell you what, has he been through a war?
Wow.
Both elbows are bloody. His shirt.
Well, you know, last year he had to wear that, or the year before, that big protective helmet. I mean, he's had some concussion problems in the past. Of all the ailments that he's had this year, I don't think any head injuries have.
He's the 18th Oregon
He's
receiver.
woozy.
Yeah, over 1,000 yards in his career, and he's caught 15 touchdown passes. That's the 5th best in Oregon history. You see the total yards in this game. The average 447, and today only 234, and very little in the third quarter when the game was in the balance. Graziani throwing deep to the other tight end, Blake Spence. He's got it on the run inside the 40 to the 35.
Blake Spence
Boy, Oregon has two good tight ends. You almost like to throw to them all the time. They're so dependable, and both have good speed. They can get downfield.
That's one thing the Husky coaches, Ronnie Milas, who's in charge of one of the safeties, told me that Blake Spence is a guy that they really were going to watch out for today.
Well, he's a very agile athlete.
Only a junior. He will be back next year as they lose Wilcox.
He has a consecutive game reception streak going. Unfortunately, none of us can remember what that is right
Yes,
now, but take my word.
Is it 3 or 4?
I think it's 11.
Graziani trying to go deep to Patrick Johnson, and he's got it right through his mitts. That was a touchdown. That's the third time today that Patrick's been able to get behind the defender with the ball in and around his hands.
Well, he'd robbed himself of the opportunity of catching a touchdown pass, and of course if he had held it up to the Husky crowd, I'm sure it'd be taunting and it'd been penalized, but right there in the corner of the end zone, he came free, a little bit late, right behind him. Gotta have it, perfect throw. You know, and Graziani, I'll tell you what, he deserves better than that. He has taken a lot of hits today to get that ball in a position where those receivers can make big plays. You owe it to your quarterback to make that catch.
Well, and Pat Johnson, you know, has talked a good game so far in the papers. He just needs to make those grabs to back it up.
Fumble, ball loose. And I think Oregon recovered it. I think it was Saladin McCullum may have recovered his own miscue. I'll tell you one thing that Patrick Johnson has to decide is he has to decide soon whether or not he's going to be a track guy or a football guy. You know, spring ball is where you get all those reps with your quarterback. You get in tune with your quarterback. You get used to things. And at some point, with this being his junior year, he needs to make a decision. He's got great speed. 3rd down and 10. Excellent pass protection. Tight end Spence off his fingers. Ink Aliaga trailing in the coverage. So it'll be 4th down.
Well, you know, he was open, but the angle that he was running straight down the field away from the quarterback, very difficult to throw a ball with enough lob on it. The tight end can make the catch without allowing a Husky to get over there and defend it. Tough pass. Once again, Graziani put it in the neighborhood.
4th and 10 at the Husky 36. Graziani 14 out of 33, but he's had a few balls that should have been caught. Now there's indecision by the Ducks, and they will take a timeout.
Timeout, Oregon, number 1.
First timeout by Oregon, 2 remaining. 10:15 to go in this one. The Huskies leading, the Ducks trying to get back on the board. Disappointing day for second-year coach Mike Bellotti. His troops now faced with a 4th and 10 at the Washington 36-yard line. Tony Hartley, Jabri Hodge, and Damon Griffin are the wideouts. A.J. Jokes stay in and help block. Graziani to throw. Waits, throws incomplete. And the Huskies will take over on downs. Well, the Huskies defensively have bent a little bit, and in particular the first half, but when they've needed to come up with the plays, more often than not, they've made them.
Well, the only blight that I can see on the Huskies' effort so far is 3 fumbles. Other than that, they've been pretty near flawless.
They put a lot of pressure on Graziani, not necessarily as an actual sack, but they've been near him, making him hurry his throws a lot today.
Well, Sonny, you know, you get hit real hard on a pass. You gotta, next time you go back, that's gotta take its toll, doesn't it?
Oh, it sure does. I tell you what, you know, you pay attention to all that stuff. You think that you don't, but your body just does.
Gotta physically wear you down.
So the Huskies with a first down play into the line. George Keaho getting the guy's been blocking all day. You got to give him a few morsels. Got to let him run it a little bit.
Give him a couple carries.
Boy, you talk about big time numbers coming out of high school. Almost 6,600 yards rushing and 80 TDs. Second best mark ever in California high school history.
Well, you take a look at his thighs and you wonder, they probably haven't changed that much since high school. Scary thought.
Heward wanted to have the pump and go, and Pathon was unable to get away from Kip East over there.
That's twice today. They have not been on the same page on a little check off or a little slant in pass, spot pass. Why pass anyway? Just hand the ball off. Let's run some clock here. And
well, the other thing, yeah, you pass the ball and it puts Hewitt in some danger back there to throw, although he really hasn't been roughed up much today.
Well, this really is the time to get your second team offensive line some repetitions and see those other ball carriers. Steve Morton's done a very nice job with that Husky offensive line. An old friend of mine, coached together many years. One of the best line coaches in the West.
There's Wheaton and Pathon again, and the Huskies want interference. Similar situation earlier in the game, and it was interference. This time, Wheaton was able to come up with a big play.
yeah, I know it's still 3rd and 9, but the Huskies really need to start running the clock.
And I think you're going to see that Pathon gets his hand on the ball here, and that's just outstanding defense. And I agree with you, Sonny. That, I mean, unless you're trying to run the score up, why wouldn't you be just running the clock out here? And you're giving the Ducks a chance to get back in it. You know, 3 and out is helping them more than they may know.
There's a good one by Sarshar. Patrick Johnson unable to get his hands on the ball, and that'll be a penalty.
It looked like he may have been blocked.
He may have
Husky
been.
may have been blocked into him.
Well, I know. Can you penalize your own team for interfering with a chance to catch the ball? Because that's what happened. 2 guys trying to hustle, run a guy right into the return man.
Let's take a timeout. We'll be right back. 9:06 to play. First and 10 for Oregon at their own 31. 9:06 to play. Washington leading 33-7. Graziani will have to take off. A little shake and bake there, and then he got the big bump. It was a gain of 12, but he took a big lick.
Lester Towns again, 17, coming in to apply the second hit. I don't know about you, Woody, but if I'm a senior quarterback and not in the open like that, I don't think I want to take too many hits if I don't need to.
The Ducks crisscross receivers, and it just opened up a nice little running lane. But, you know, Graziani's still got some games left, and there's still some time left in this game. I'd avoid those hits.
Where's Ryan Perry Smith?
Slant pattern caught by Tony Hartley. Good enough for the first down. Here's a young man that's really come on strong lately.
See, if the Ducks score here and then can score again, they need to get 3 onside kicks.
Well, they've gotten 3 for the year.
They'll score 4 times, then the defense will have to hold them on the last drive. You're smirking, but you know it's possible.
Graziani, the out pattern. Caught, stepping out of bounds is Jabari Hodge in front of Jermaine Smith. Getting back to Tony Hartley, he's got a chance to break the Oregon record for freshman receptions in a year that was set by Patrick Johnson 2 years ago, and that is 30. Hartley came into today with 20 receptions, so he's got 21. And he's caught at least 2 passes in every game except the opener. So he's gotten better and better as the year has progressed. A lot of you want to know what happened to LaCorey Collins, the parade All-American out of Oakland. He's had a hamstring and a slight injury, and he just has not been able to get into games in practice, so more than likely he's going to redshirt this year. Here comes the screen they try to set up near side.
It's set up.
Win. Oh, is it ever? Cuts back, and Lester Towns hustling downfield gets him from behind, first down inside the 10.
Well, a couple of Ducks still got some fight left in them out there. A nice call. You know, that screen has been there all but one time today. We've seen a couple of miscues, but the Huskies really selling out to get the pressure on Graziani. The linebacker is lost in there. There's 4 blockers. Townsend did a great job of coming back. That corner bought some time for him to get in there and make that play.
Well, you see a guy like Lester Towns still have fight in him too, Woody. He was downfield making the tackle.
Well, I've been around Lambright before when they give up a score, and I know I don't want to get yelled at like that.
First and goal at the 7. Graziani throwing near side. It is incomplete. Intended for Jabri Hodge. Second down and goal.
Looked like Hodge lost his footing and coming back for the football.
Well, he bobbled it, and it's lucky it was almost picked off there on the rebound.
A lot of time, Graziati.
There is a lot of time, and you know, you'd like to remember that option play. Good job by the defensive back at getting that right hand in there. They've done a nice job of playing the receiver's arms, pulling them apart so they can't secure the football.
Graziani, the slant, and he and Hartley, again, worked quite on the same page there. Hartley ran a deeper slant, so it'll be third down and goal. Hartley looking for his first career touchdown. And the sun finally breaking through here.
See, I told those Husky fans the sun would be out.
McCullough's now in the game, running back.
There's that option play you were talking about. Graziani trying to keep Kaika Malloy. Say he's one of the hardest hitters on this Washington team. Stops Graziani at the 4.
Malloy has been for the last few years. Makes a few hits. It's kind of a highlight reel.
You're going to see Graziani stepping up here. Now, had he been able to pitch the ball right there, McCullough might have taken it in, but he had committed himself, and when you commit yourself and get your shoulders turned inside like that, very difficult to pitch the ball.
Second time today, Oregon has gone for it on fourth down, this time at the 4 in the fourth quarter. Gonna run it again to Saladin McCullough, and he's going nowhere. That's a loss of 6.
Boy, I don't know about that call, Woody.
Well, it sure have been better on first or second down. You know, you put yourself in the hole. Fourth down, the ball's got to go in the end zone.
To me, that's a throwing down.
I agree. Just, you know, the Ducks need a tune-up. They're just missing on
all cylinders?
All cylinders are.
You see Kyle Roberts maybe injured the left elbow there, or arm.
Looked like a shoulder there, Todd.
Or shoulder, yep.
Dennis Seeley's been there a long time, trainer for the Huskies. Been there almost as long as Coach Lambright.
28th year for Coach Lambright. Player, assistant coach, coordinator, and now the headmaster in his 4th year.
I believe Dennis Seeley started about the time that you were there, Ken.
Yeah, he was.
72.
He came in and he's considered one of the deans of the training field. You know, Jim Lambright there is a friend of mine, and we were talking about all that stuff in the paper last year, kind of criticizing the move to have Oregon go to the Cotton Bowl. He said, you know, I never meant to criticize the team as much as the move to do it. He felt in a position where he had to defend his program and his team. You know those media guys. You know how you guys are.
Todd.
Well, you can see the seniority there, and coaches staying at the same school, and he's right up in there.
But he's a player's coach. The first thing that Husky players realized when Don James left and Jim Lambright came in is that you could go in and comfortably sit in the head coach's office and talk to him about anything.
You know, he's been criticized by some Husky fans, but Husky fans have to remember that Coach Lambright came in with a lot of young coaches. Scott Linehan didn't have a long tenure at some other college to come in and help him as a coordinator or as an assistant coach. You need some time as a coach as well as a player.
And I'll tell you what, the team had some sanctions against them recruiting-wise. They're still feeling a little bit of that. You know, and I don't have any problem with the sanctions as much as you look at what in the Pac-10 conference, how Washington was dealt with, as opposed to how Miami, Florida State, Texas A&M, teams like that have been dealt with by
How
their
about in
conference.
the Pac-10 conference with USC?
Yeah, well.
Yeah, they've had a lot of, that closet hasn't been real tidy down at USC. Keep it on the ground here inside their own 15-yard line.
Well, somehow the jury is missing when SC is on trial. And I think, so one might suspect sometimes that the conference hesitates to put its marquee team in the doghouse, so to speak.
Well, at the time that the Huskies went on probation, they were the marquee team. They won the national championship. Trying to get back to that level.
I love this kid that's in there now, 21, Joe Jarzinka.
Yeah, he's
Players
up,
love
isn't
him.
he? Yeah.
He sells his heart out there on the football field.
Keep it on the ground as they try to run some of the time off the clock. Jason Harris getting the carry there. Payton,
That's
big receiver today. And here's Jarosik. You're talking about his hair.
That's right. I hear that really isn't regular hair. That's just hooked to the back of his.
Yeah, it's like those
helmet.
baseball caps, you put on with the tail.
No, it would seem like a guy could pull that and hold him, actually. And would it be a personal foul or holding? Or both?
Both.
Is that real blonde or is it a rinse?
No, it's true. Oh, that sunshine we get in Seattle, it's sun bleached. His hairdresser told me, really.
3rd and 6. Keeping on the ground. Keaho gets the carry there. And the Huskies forced to boot it away.
We've sunk to a new low. There's
Yeah.
still 5 minutes to go in the game. And we're talking about hairdressers.
Well, let's talk about the road ahead for the Huskies, Sonny. I mean, USC next week, that's a big, big game.
I'm going to really look forward to hopefully get back to Seattle in time to watch some of that big game in Pullman with USC and WSU tonight.
You look at the schedule, and the games with USC and Washington State really stand out for the Huskies. That final game, the Apple Cup, could have a lot riding on it.
It always does, no matter what the record.
Sarshar, another pretty good boot there against the wind. And the reception is made by Jamal Wallace, former Willamette High School star. So Oregon the ball in midfield. Let's check out the Oregon offense and see if they stay with the starters. The Huskies have brought in some new troops, at least in the linebacking core, and up front. Perry stays in the secondary along with Burton. Lester Towns in their linebacking position. And the Oregon starters do come back out on the field, with Graziani included. Washington led 21-7 at halftime, but has controlled play since then. Graziani to roll. Underneath route, juggled by Damon Griffin, diving forward for the first down inside the 40 at the 37.
Huskies have done a pretty good job of keeping Griffin in check today. We talked about him in the pregame show, averaging 18 yards per reception. Really has not been able to get loose in that Husky secondary.
Had one long ball to Griffin that was called back on an offensive pass interference. I mean, the game plan obviously called for Oregon to try to throw the ball deep against the corners. And they had some chances but couldn't make the connection. Graziani now, he is going to go deep. Andrew Burton in coverage. It's caught by Tony Hartley, his first career touchdown.
Tony Hartley, 45 yards for Oregon touchdown.
So Tony Hartley, who had a brilliant career at Los Alamitos, he's going to be a good one. He is very advanced in receiving skills for a true freshman.
There's a perfect strike, and finally the long bomb is completed for the Ducks. Give Graziani a lot of credit. He's hung in there and taken a lot of punishment today, and that ball was right where it had to be. Hartley looked pretty smooth on that route, too.
Tough catch looking back at the sun like that. Good concentration.
Josh Finkel to tack on the point after. And he has his first career point, a walk-on from Pacific Palisades. And so he gets his first point. The Ducks finally get back on the board, but the Huskies have the lead. No surprise coming up here as Oregon with the onside kick. The Huskies have their hands team on the field. The Ducks have actually had some pretty good success in this department, recovering a couple this year. And Cam Kissel jumps up and catches it. And the kick is the most important thing as far as the team trying to recover the ball. That second bounce is the one that's really the one.
It's almost as if we kicked it too hard.
Yeah.
And as a receiver, you got to get this ball as fast as you can on the rebound, get up there, and then get down as fast as you can, because those guys are going to try to separate you from the football.
That was a good look at it. You got to see his eyes right there concentrating on the football.
One of the rule changes in college football a couple of years ago is that the team kicking the ball cannot go down there and just wipe guys out before they have a chance to catch that onside kick. So from a protection standpoint, that was a good rule.
Fun to watch, though.
It is. A lot more fun than those fair catches on kickoffs, isn't it? There's Jason, or Harris again, I should say. Getting a little bit of action here.
I don't think there's any more pressure than to be on the onside return team when you know that ball is going to hang you up there. When I played at Oregon, I was on the onside return team, went in the back row, but in the front row we had Bobby Moore, Bob Newland, Leland Glass, and so on. This freshman scout team got 9 in a row live against us, and finally John Robinson said, that's enough. This is hurting our confidence.
They should have had you up there.
That wasn't the problem.
Kieho with the carry. He's wrapped up after a gain of 1 by Derek Barnes and Desmond Bird. Joe Donnerberg in there now for Oregon. 3 minutes, 17 seconds remaining in this game. And Oregon, I believe, has called a timeout.
Timeout, Oregon. Number 2.
One thing, Sonny, there is no such thing as a short game in Oregon football this year. We've had one game that went 4 hours and 19 minutes.
Oh, man.
You guys are charter, aren't you?
Yeah, we.
Okay.
Well, and the sun may have come in just in time for you to get out of town, too. If that fog had sat in here, it might have been kind of tough. Pretty good effort by that Husky defense today, as they have put some pressure on Graziani. They gave up some yards in the first half. Oregon now officially with 103 yards, but on 32 carries.
Well, the Ducks' only offensive drive of significance in the game, they were able to run the football. 17 yards on first down. At one point, they were averaging 6 yards on first down. And, you know, as you mentioned before, first down is kind of the make it or break it down for the Ducks. They don't get more than 2 yards. They've been 3 and out a lot this year, and a lot. It'd be interesting to check that out in the third quarter, because that is where in the Stanford game, they lost their steam. Out here again, had they been able to get some first downs, if not score, put the Huskies bad field position, the game could be a little bit closer right now.
Well,
physically, the Huskies have really dominated.
Oh, Harris, a nice strong run there. He's got the first down inside the 35 to the 34-yard line. Curtis Moore, Ronnie Gibson, double team on the tackle.
That's one thing the Huskies have done earlier in the season when Rashawn Sheehy was healthy. You got the slasher and dasher in there for a couple quarters. Then you bring the big load in, and I tell you, the defensive backs early in the season didn't like to see that. Good run there, though.
Well, Dillon's going to be the main man. I mean, he has really shown in the last couple of games that he's a big-time running back, and maybe he ought to be in that Doak Walker Award list.
Well, the two best offensive teams in the league right now are the two that can run the football, got good tailbacks and some depth there, ASU and Washington.
Here's Harris running strong again. He's got about 3 yards to the 31-yard line. Well, for Oregon, they've got to regroup. They are in the midst of their longest losing streak in 5 years. They had had 2 back-to-back tremendous seasons when things had gone well for them. They played good, solid football, especially at the defensive end. And now they're going through a season where things have not gone their way, and they've gotten beat up pretty good. And another bye week before they close it out with 3, Arizona, Cal, and Oregon State. It's still a chance at a winning season. This next bye week might be a tough bye week. And a lot of their problems stem from the fact they haven't been able to scrimmage much even in practices. They don't have enough bodies. Harris diving forward. They're going to mark him at the 26-yard line.
Looks like the Huskies got a first down there. One thing that intrigues me about the Husky running backs, their strides. They are very explosive, very strong-legged guys. You know, they do not get knocked off their feet easily.
I'll tell you one thing, Corey Dillon in practice, if they're on the 50, he runs the ball 50 yards on every play.
3rd and 2 for Washington. Harris is going to be close to the first down. I think he's got it.
Back in the days when Bobby Moore was switched from wide receiver to tailback here at Oregon, he did the same thing. And, you know, those guys going to carry it 20, 30 times against the physical defenses they meet in this league. You got to be in great shape.
There was a great athlete, Ahmad Rashad. Now, very exciting football player.
Well, and he had his moments in the Husky Duck games over the years.
Well, the Huskies now unofficially with 498 yards of offense. And the Ducks have been giving up 400 yards or more now in 7 of the 8 games. Harris bouncing to the outside. Somebody holding on in there for dear life. Gain of about 3. Paul Driver in there now at a defensive tackle position, number 79. He was recruited as an offensive lineman and moved to the defense when they got thin there, number 79. Peter Sermon, number 44, the former Washington High School Defensive Player of the Year at Walla Walla.
Oh, no, Walla Walla.
Oh, okay.
Walla Walla, Washington.
Another town that sounds good. You know, Washington has made their point. They've come down here and beaten Oregon. They're in no big hurry to run the score up.
They weren't fancy doing it. High possession passes, power game with the running. Terry Holloman.
Well, the Huskies will snap a 2-game losing streak to Oregon. Exorcise a few of the demons. And the purple crowd to our right, the 4,000 plus that made their way from Seattle.
That's why they came down here, Todd. They needed to see no three-peat by the Oregon Ducks against those Huskies.
So that'll do it. Final score from Autzen Stadium, Washington 33, Oregon 14. For Ken Woody and Sonny Sixkiller, I'm Todd McKim. Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.